lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing's important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, it's just waiting.
Matt Williams got a brilliant start from the third row of the grid.
He's gone, he's hit him, he's straight off at the chase.
A half-second lead. Oh, but this is a car in the background.
He has, oh, he's round on the last lap.
There's a massive accident.
Next to the inside, what a move, what a move.
G'day everybody and welcome to round number 2 of Automobilista Australia's GT3 Sprint Series in 2020, presented by Antara Resort Style Living. Well, if you missed the opening round 2 weeks ago, you would have been a bit worried because this is a new concept and it was very much an adventure into the unknown. Everybody arrived and didn't know what to expect, but by the end of the night we were all sitting back and wondering how good of a round it actually was. The racing delivered at the Okayama International Circuit 2 weeks ago, but it's from a very, very small track we go to a very, very big track we come to, and probably the biggest and longest lap of the calendar, the very short 6-race calendar that makes up this very unique GT3 Sprint Series. It's the second trip for Automobilista Australia to the Bend this year, the first for GT3 machinery, and a number of South Australians, not just in the field, but also in the commentary box tonight. I, of course, am Melburnian. I'm Steve DeVries, but the two South Australians I speak of are Josh Bagsy Bags and Michael the Floodman Zalavari. And gents, how good was last round? Oh, hang on, sorry.
One of the best
Hang on.
Do we go?
Yep.
One of the best defensive drives we've seen in AMS Oz history, really. It was just an absolutely brilliant drive and really action all throughout the field in these shortened race format.
Yeah, it absolutely was. Good evening, Bagsy. Good evening, Nether. Good evening, everyone watching along at home. And I am very excited to see what tonight's track brings to the Sprint Series format. I think with the sort of bullring that we've got tonight, a lot of open corners into very tight corners tonight. It's going to be a very difficult race for a lot of people, and I think something that's going to suit the shorter format of racing perfectly.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Apologies just to those watching the live stream. There was a little bit of an issue with the audio, which we've sorted just there now. So hopefully everything's coming through without a problem. But I agree. There's a lot more width in this track compared to what there was 2 weeks ago at Okayama. There's a few more prime passing opportunities, mainly down into turn 1 and around the back section of the circuit as well. A few of the worries coming in is that it might be a bit processional in some spots, but with the kind of racing that was on offer 2 weeks ago, you've really got to have your elbows out and really got to get stuck in there and drive these cars really hard. That's what this concept is all about, pushing GT3 machinery to the limit. You haven't got the luxury, Bagsy, of running around at 90 to 95%, picking your opportunity to get past the lap traffic, which did become an issue in the last race. You've got to be in that 95 to 100% bracket because everybody else is in the 90 to 100, 95 to 100% bracket. There's no let up.
Yeah, we saw some people like Will Devonish and Lewis Wedding take advantage of that, being able to run an 80 or 90% lap for the whole race, save fuel, and win the race quite easily in the longer form series when we're having 60 minutes was the minimum length we went for a race. But now, 30-minute race, and you have to be on the pedal the whole time. And if you make a mistake, that can be it for not just your race win chances, but your podium chances, even your top 5 or 6 chances. We did see last race, both Wedding and Peter Savage having issues, and Wedding's ended up being terminal, but Savage's ended up not being as bad and managed to get to the front for the win. But yeah, you definitely have to be very, very not careful, but you have to be fast but consistent in such a condensed space of time. It's a lot more difficult. Yeah,
definitely a lot more of a difficult concept to go from that longer format to the shorter format. That's reflected in the points standings. So, Michael, we have a look at our drivers' point standings coming into tonight. Of course, only one of the 6 rounds completed, but already still pretty close at the top, even after round 1, and only 4 different drivers across the night ending up on the podium at Okayama.
Yeah, so Peter Savage with a win and a second place is our championship leader. Will Devonish with, I think, a win and a third slots into second. And then there's a bit of a gap, which would have seen Steve Bolger, who was the podium getter in the first race, who had a shocker in the second race and dropped all the way to the bottom of the field. So that's where that big gap in points comes in. But you can already see how important consistent podium finishes are going to be in this series. Savage and Devonish already have a 10-point gap over the rest of the field, which is led by silver driver Noah Tara after his fantastic outing at Okayama. Interestingly, though, a notable name missing from that championship graphic is Lewis Wedding, who had a pair of DNFs to start his championship campaign. So it'll be interesting to see how he can manage, how far up the field he can manage to get through once this championship is completed.
Yeah, he ended up with a pretty horrible night's racing by his standard, but it's not actually the first one of it wasn't his fault. He ended up with a game glitch in the first race and finished a lap down in 17th, and then was DNF battling in the top half a dozen spots in race 2 and ended up not finishing the race. Actually collected, I think it was Dimitri at the second to last corner, doing his best to stay off the racing line. Of course, with GT3 racing, you've got to find the prime opportunity to get past, and it's the overtaking car's responsibility to get it done and get it done safely. But when you've got cars trying to stay out of the way in really awkward spots, it didn't go well for Lewis in that particular occasion, and he was a non-finisher. He's all the way down the order in 20th with no points to his name. There is quite a number of drivers in the standings that are pretty tight on points. You can see that trio there. Bolger, Turra and Brendan Ross all with 21 points. That's all because of Bolger's third place gives him the ascendancy there, with Greg Turra's best result last round of a 4th place finish in race 2. And then Brendan Ross with his best result on the night being a 5th to go with his 6th place in race 2. We flip over and have a look at the team's points, which have been a bit of a unique thing for this year in all the series. A number of drivers carrying over their teams from the World Series into the Sprint Series. Despite Lewis Wedding not finishing any races for the Team Antara Loose Sim Sport cars, the Acuras, his other satellite team, though, Floody, doing quite well out in front with the Bentley Continentals placing well last round.
Yeah, really consistent results from Burko and Ross last round. Really gives them in Loose Sim Sport the ascendancy in the teams championship. Petty rivalry being the Turras, Noah and Greg in second after their good result in race 2, and then Wedding Crashes basically again being carried along by Will Devonish, of course, and Brian Walsh picking up a few points last time out. Again, no significant points from Team Antara, which is Mike Coulston and Lewis Wedding, and very tight in the middle there between the MHRT BMWs and the FCR Motorsport Dodge Vipers. So we'll see how that evolves over the course of the season, but a little surprising to see Loose Sim Sport at the top. Of course, Peter Savage is in that team as well, so maybe not so surprising, but very consistent from that trio to bring home so far the top championship points for the teams.
Yeah, not wrong there. The Team Antara drivers down there in 9th on the standings. There was only 10 teams that scored points in the last round, so that's why there's only 10 spots on that graphic, and there was 12 drivers on the drivers' points, because we ended up with 23 drivers in the server last week, which was a pretty stout turnout, Bagsy, considering that it very much was a venture into the unknown.
Yeah, it's a good vote of confidence for the series as a whole, I think, that we had so many drivers turn up for that first round. We do have a few less today than we did last weekend, but still 17 is a very healthy field, and really once you get up to that 23, we have seen issues sometimes pop up in the sim with that many cars and server stability and stuff. So 17 in a short form like this is going to be plenty for us to commentate on. There'll be battles up and down the field for sure.
Yeah, that's exactly what we saw last time out as well. We couldn't take our eyes off basically anything that was going on because there was always something happening. I mean, I've now got two screens here. I can see what's going on, but the amount of battles that formed very quickly, you didn't know which one to stay with. We were staying with the lead battle, had to cut to the other battles, and then work out who was positioned where. And we didn't want to miss any of the action. That was, I guess, the hard part about it for us as commentators, is not really knowing where to look. Now, we're just getting some word coming through that the qualifying session is about to commence. So for the very first time for GT3 machinery at the Bend, we'll get a qualifying session and really get to see the lap times that these cars can produce. We've been seeing times into the mid to high 146s, which is pretty quick. I mean, I went out and did a very, very, very brief lap very early on in the piece, and I did a minute 52. Mind you, I wasn't running with a setup or anything, but a minute 46, that's flying.
Yeah, it really is. That's pretty close to what the real GT3 lap record is around the Bend as well. So very, very close from the sim races to match up to what happens in the real world. We should see maybe the top 3 or 4 cars get to that point. I think a lot of people will be in the 47s in terms of their lap time, and then race pace will be in the 47s to 48s. I wouldn't be surprised either as the race goes on, or as the session, of course, a single shootout lap, so maybe not. But as the track evolves, you might even see one of the top guys scrape into the 45s. There's been some absolutely lightning times by some of the people around over the course of the practice server over the weekend. So we'll see what everyone has to offer as qualifying kicks off.
Yeah, we've been going for almost a minute now, and no one has elected to leave the pits yet. So everyone remembering what happened last week, trying to keep their powder a little bit dry, knowing that they really only have, I believe it's 3 laps total. Is it 2? It's only one flying lap.
It's one flying, yeah.
One
And the
flying.
thing is as well, there really isn't a chance on this track to do a second lap. You really use the most of the tires on that first lap anyway, so it would be, well, you wouldn't be seeing anyone improve if they were doing multiple runs or more laps as we saw in the World Challenge Series. So a single lap really puts the pressure on, especially for maybe the likes of Lewis Wedding, who has so far struggled in the championship, taking 2 DNFs last week. So we'll see how that goes for them.
Yeah, this is starting to be a bit of a worry now. We're now down to 8 minutes 20 left on the clock, and we haven't got any runners. I'm just wondering whether or not the driver's briefing is taking a little bit longer than expected, and they haven't realised and the session's rolled over into the qualifying session. So given that we normally see a little bit of activity by now, it's extremely rare. I'm surprised if the qualifying session actually has commenced officially and we haven't got anybody on the track. Although that being said, here we go. That now makes a fool of me. That looks like Pete Savage to me coming out, and behind him it looks like Glenn Miles in the Viper. So we have got some activity.
Termo in the Viper.
Termo in the Viper, sorry. You're right. Termo in the Viper. So there he goes. So we have got a couple of takers.
And here comes another. It looks like a GTR.
Yeah,
so
that'll be Brendan Ross coming out. So the first man out on track, Pete Savage. And he'll have the track all to himself. And let's just keep
Oh, now it's just an absolute...
And now there's a flood.
Devonish is out.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got Hayden Kruger, who's on debut, is following Will Devonish out of the pits. A couple of debutants. We were speaking about this before. We've got plenty of South Australians in the field. The Taras, of course, both South Australians. And Hayden Kruger and Luke Rosella debuting in the category as wildcards tonight. One of those cars actually has the Bend Motorsport Park livery all over it. And Luke Rosella has actually been very close to the top of the timing sheets most of the week, if not on top of the timing sheets most of the week. He's no slouch when it comes to supercars, but he's been looking pretty handy in this category as well. So he might be up there to throw a spanner in the works for some of the more regular competitors as well.
Yeah, he's certainly put a lot of laps in the practice server over the weekend. 130 laps against his name in the permanent server. Whereas if you look at, say, the likes of Peter Savage or Lewis Wedding, significantly less, we'll say. So as Peter Savage comes through turn 18 to start his first flying lap. We'll track him as he goes across the line. But another function of having such a big lap as Peter gets the headlights on and goes away is that traffic's going to be much less of an issue because there's much more room to spread out. So Peter comes up to the first corner here, braking just at the 100 board, down into second gear around there, then through turn 2, and the track drops through turn 3 here, and he gets a little bit of a loose moment in the rear of the Bentley. He gets the power down, and then back up the hill towards turns 4 and 5.
Yeah, through this little left-hand bit of the course now, coming up to the Sector 1 split very, very soon. This is the part of the course that gets very, very tricky. This is a very hard braking zone into the left-hander. Sector 1 split now comes up at a 39.425, and then you've got this multi-apex right-hander, very, very similar to Turkey's Turn 8 and also to Circuit of the Americas as well. And then it very quickly sweeps back to the left here, and then again to the right. Very important to keep the flow through here. Run it right out to the outside. Don't get those cones of death on the outside. And then up this little hill to the right, over the rise. And then up will come the Sector 2 split, and he registers 1:11.6.
Pretty quick from Peter.
Yeah, very patient on the throttle.
Back down the hill.
Yeah, very patient on the throttle through this part of the course as well. You need to just give it a little bit to keep the car moving, and then you need to wait for the car to be in position before you can nail the throttle again. Second to last corner is a corner where we have seen in TCR here, a couple of drivers got caught for moving under brakes, so that's a prime passing opportunity if you can make it stick, but you need to be very mindful of your defence. And Savage will get out of the final corner and down to the line. It's going to be a 47, and it's a 47.115.
Wow, that is a mega lap to bring us to the start of the
Will
session.
Devonish is less than a tenth down, starting the final sector now.
All right, so we cycle up to pick up Will Devonish, and here he is, lights ablaze. How was he tracking through the first couple of sectors, Bagsy?
He was 0.08 of a second down through the second sector. I didn't catch his first sector time though.
All right, so Brendan Ross has gone within a quarter, or just over a quarter second to Pete Savage's time. So that's actually pretty decent from Brendan Ross to be that close. Devonish's going to have a 47 as well, and he splits the pair of them.
Wow.
47.2. Hayden Kruger's the next.
Kruger's not had the best lap.
No.
He's 2 seconds off the pace.
Slower than Termo, so that's not a good start to his campaign.
Ooh, we've got Bolger. He's just gone through the second sector, and he is only a tenth down as well.
Yep, so he's not too far away. Defending World Series champion. Podium in the last race, last round, and then a shocker in race 2.
Next 2 cars to cross the line will be Brian Walsh. He has had a poor lap. And Noah Toro as well, 48.5. Would have expected a little more from Noah. And then in the background, that's one of the Bentleys. I think that's Steve Burko.
Yeah, Burko's had a poor lap. He does a 49.9. So he's had a mishap somewhere.
Ooh. Lime Mitch at the moment is 1/10 away.
Oh,
to the
Bolger,
second
look at
sector.
this. Look at the time starting to get really close to the top. This is getting really, really tight. Luke Joyner in the background as well goes 9th with a 50.4. And we just saw Lewis Wedding leaving the lane. Greg Tara's probably going to be one of the next
Luke
men to cross
Rosella's
the line.
also headed out the lane as well.
Lime Mitch will be next on my view, I think. He comes out the final corner. He was 1.116 down to the second sector mark. How is the BMW down that straight? He drops into 4.
Only 2 tenths off though.
Yeah, wow. Very, very tight at the top of the field.
This is the real unique aspect of this series as well. The one-shot qualifying. Not a lot of drivers will be used to this. So getting the tyres up to temperature, getting everything right on your outlap is critical.
Greg Tara's looking decent here, potentially.
Oh, he's been awarded a
He
track
must have
cut.
got a track cut.
He's been awarded a
no.
track cut, so he's out. Oh, and he doesn't like. He's not happy about it either.
He's in the car park now.
Oh, he's well and truly gone. So that's a rear grid start for him. Now, Manuel Centino here as well. He's behind. He's in front of Luke Rosella, who's on an out lap. So that's all right for Luke. He's just going to have to. Manuel's gotten out of the way, thinking that he was on a hot lap, so he really didn't have to do that. So, but that's okay.
We should ride on board with Luke because he's had the best practice times, and this is going to be a cracking lap no matter what happens.
Yep. From the helmet cam, here we go. Bagsy, the floor is yours. We'll let you have a bit of a call about this hot lap from Luke Rosella. Let's see how he does.
As he almost 250 k's an hour going down to the first corner, second gear, nice and slow. Got to get that power on, and we've seen his times all throughout the whole practice sessions in the lead up to this have been very good. He's been clearly putting in the work, and it's going to be interesting to see if it pays off here. Got this nice long left. I say it was long left-hander, short left-hander. I'm not the best with the bend, but he's gone a little deep there. He's not troubled the apex at all, but gets into the apex late. We'll see how well he goes through the first sector.
Is it just me, or did he not get a
I
sector
don't
time?
have a sector time for him.
I'm actually looking at this as well now that we've been hearing as well. There's been a couple of glitches with some of the timing splits. So I'm actually wondering if it still says Rosella's on an outlap, and Lewis Wedding's got the same treatment. So he's actually crossed the start-finish line, but it hasn't registered the start of his lap. So
yeah, and they're not going to have enough time to make it round before time expires on qualifying.
Oh
as well.
no!
This is going to be really, really unlucky. We didn't have this problem when we ran it with TCR, so I'm a bit surprised that this has reared its head for really no apparent reason. And Rosella knows the gig is up. And,
Yeah, he's realised.
He's not happy about it. Now, Wedding's going to be in the same boat as well, so that's not a good sign. And only 13 cars having registered a time. And the only other one that said there's Lewis Wedding, I think he probably knows it up as well now. Who else didn't register a time? Greg Turra didn't. Bagacino. And there's a couple of drivers that haven't made it back into the server. Noah Turra being one of them.
No, he's in sixth.
He's in sixth. He's in sixth. Sorry, there's a couple of drivers that definitely haven't made it back in.
And Greg Turra, yeah, he had a track. Or he may have had a track cut.
Yeah, and Wedding's given up.
Or did he encounter the same issue?
No, yeah. I think he had a track cut because we saw him cross the line we did see a time,
didn't we? Yeah.
Yeah, correct. So we're a bit unsure as to what's happening. So that's a bit of a weird sort of dampener on qualifying. Aside from the fact that there were some really close times at the front, to have a couple of drivers robbed of their lap time is a bit sad. But
from practice, I feel like Luke Rosella would have blown those times out of the water.
100%.
Yeah, and there's a few guys that have just had to very quickly leave the game as well. So Matt Schwasser's jumped out, and there's a couple of guys that are just coming in late as well. So bit of a weird one there. Anyway, I guess we'll press on. What we'll do is have a bit of a look at the track itself on tonight's race info screen. So here it is, the nearly 5 kilometre long standard layout, I guess we'd like to call this one, because this is the layout we see the most often in supercars and other forms of motorsport that happen to run at the Bend, local state racing as well. We believe we're going to get around about 18 laps tonight based on the current timing estimates. Most important thing, though, Bagsy, is first ever visit. So we've now officially set a qualifying lap record, although we do think it probably would have been a little bit faster than what it turned out to be.
Yeah, well, there'll be another chance to set the qualifying record as well before race 2, hopefully with less issues than this time. But it's unfortunate that we didn't get to see that full lap from Luke Rosella and Lewis Wedding as well, because both showed pace, and we only had 0.2 between the top 5, and realistically, some of those other drivers like Noah Turra, Hayden Kruger were most likely going to be up there near the top as well, and just had bad laps, which is what's going to happen when you have a one-shot qualifying.
Yeah, it sort of does shuffle the order quite drastically. Floody, you've been here as a marshal. You've been here in official capacities for Endurance Chat as well. The most difficult section of this track, what is it, where is it, and how do you cope with it?
That's the thing. There's a lot of very different, very difficult sections of this track, but really, I think that the middle sector, the run through turn 6, that tight hairpin just before the end of the first sector, that braking zone there is off camber going downhill. So you're actually hitting the apex at the very bottom of the hill there. Then it's that compound right-hander where you go up over the hill, then down, and then back up, which really tests the limit of the tires and your bravery through that section as well. And it's not uniform, all those apexes there. You can see that the first 2 are very much more open, and then you've got this very short shoot between turns 9 and 10, that is. So you kind of have to use a stairsism, you got to rob Peter to pay Paul through that section to take some speed out of it. in turn 9 and 10 to set you up for the best line through turn 11 and 12, the loop back down what you could effectively call the back straight. So that section to me is the most difficult section on the track. But really, with the different character of all of these corners, you could say any section is the most difficult section of this track. That's probably just my favorite.
The elevation changes in this track, though, are pretty deceiving in some cases as well. I mean, you can see the undulation in the front straight just from the shot in the background there. It is not a dead flat circuit. The grid is relatively flat, but there is an incline that you have to get up and over on the run to turn 1. And at just about every part of the circuit that is critical, there's some sort of elevation change that just throws a curveball at you. Probably the one that I enjoy the most is getting around the right-hander up to the Sector 2 split. And on the onboard that you saw, we did see it's very obvious when you're approaching it that it's an uphill right-hander. It's 90 degrees, or close enough to 90 degrees there on the track map. But one of those corners that sort of sucks you in a little bit, and you feel tempted to, try and take a little bit of curb on the inside, try and push the limit a little bit too far. If you do that, you end up off the road. So one of those corners you've got to treat with a bit of respect. Same sort of thing you've got to do with that, triple right-hand apex corner coming out of the Sector 1 split as well. You've got to sort of pick your spot or pick your line, stick to it, and you don't want to feed the power in too heavily, otherwise you just understeer off the road.
Yeah, it's all very difficult. I think it's 84 meters total of elevation gain and loss over the course of a lap. So while that doesn't necessarily sound like much, it's certainly no Bathurst at 173 meters from top to bottom, which is absolute elevation change as opposed to relative elevation change. It works in very subtle ways, and it makes every corner a little bit unique. So it basically, if you look at the track as it is there, right where turn 3 and basically a line between turn 3 and turn 17 is where the hill sort of lays. So it really changes the camber of the corners, changes the character of the circuit, and there's a lot of difficulty in dealing with the elevation change over the course of a lap. It might, even with the 18 corners, it's complicated enough as it is. When you add the elevation change to that as well, it certainly becomes a much bigger challenge.
And a couple of comments coming in on the live stream here, gents. Bags, I'll leave this one with you. There's Hans and Nathan Higginson commenting you wouldn't want to be a left front tyre around here, and dangerous night to be a front left Michelin or Pirelli. And given that this is predominantly a right-hand turning circuit, rightly justified.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how people manage their tyre wear, because we know that the tyres are going to last about half an hour, about a stint, which is what they lasted in the longer form of the series, and people would generally change tyres every stop. So you've got to be careful, even if it's not just about the grip going away, but about potential overheating if you're pushing too hard. And it's those little elevation changes that really can affect how much pressure's been put on these tyres to the corners. And it's a credit to the fact that they took what was essentially a flat paddock and added some meaningful elevation change to it.
Do you want to know how they did that, by the way, guys?
I'm guessing by putting dirt in, but that's just my
Well, they actually can't, because Tailem Bend is part of what's called the Limestone Coast down in the towards the southeast of South Australia. So they couldn't actually they couldn't actually dig out of the ground. They actually had to use dynamite to create some of the crevices to actually build elevation into the track. So yeah, there's a little Bend fun fact for you. I got a few of those tonight. I've just got my back pocket ready to drop out.
I sort of assumed they would have built up instead of digging down for that sort of stuff. But I think whatever works for them.
Yeah, I think one of the problems with building up is that as over time, as the sort of construction settles, it can cause bumps in the track, which I think is what has happened at the Circuit of the Americas. Remember, they had a few resurfacing issues in recent history. So
it happened at the Buddha International Circuit in India as well. There's that massive bump on the back straight that I think an F3 car might have launched over at some point.
F3 cars have a habit of launching over things, unfortunately. But yes, so they actually
F3 cars.
Oh yeah, but they actually use dynamite to dig out a bunch of the track surface. Well, what became the track surface.
Well, here we go.
The more you know.
Getting ready to race for race number 1 tonight. Pete Savage on the pole. From the front, very, very similar to what he had at the last round at Okayama, and alongside him, Steve Bolger. Bolger
Not much advantage conferred by pole position here. It's alongside, and you have the outside line as well. It's a bit harsh.
Yeah, it's not all that easy, but mind you, being the rolling start as well, probably doesn't really make any sense that we've got side-by-side action anyway.
True.
Now, I'm just looking out there to see whether where the normally we would have the pace car out there right now to pace the field to the flag, but we don't. So that effectively means that Pete Savage is the pace car, and Bagsy will run us through this grid.
Well, here's hoping that doesn't go awry. So Peter, 3 for 3 from pole positions so far this series, is starting from pole position. Steve Bolger alongside him in second place. Will Devonish in third for Wedding Crashers Motorsport, followed by Lime Mitch with a very impressive qualifying. They're up in fourth, probably expected a couple of people ahead of him. One of them he might have expected would have been Brendan Ross and Noah Turra, who are both behind him in the GTRs. Termo in seventh in his Viper, the PlayStation branding on it. Aiden Kruger, one of the debutants, in 8th place. Steve Burko alongside him in 9th place. No word on whether he and Chris Pither have mended their relationship. Luke Joyner in 10th place in the other Wedding Crashers Motorsport car. Glenn Miles in the sister Termo Dodge Viper with Nintendo branding. Brian Walsh in 12th. Manuel Centino is in 13th in that Aston... it's Aston Martin. Yep. No, it's a Jaguar, sorry. My apologies to all the Jaguar fans out there. Matt Schwass, Gravel Rush Racing, 14th place. Bagacino in 15th. He's actually slightly out of position. Lewis Wedding in 16th place, out of position. Greg Turra in 17th. Luke Rosella 18th. And that rounds out your field. Luke Rosella will be very unhappy that he is so far back with his qualifying lap not counting along with Lewis Wedding.
Yeah, Floody, there'll be a few people that'll be upset with their laps not being able to be counted. Rosella, Wedding, Greg Turra with a poor one as well.
Yeah, so watch for them to run through the field in the opening laps. We made mention that not the easiest place to pass around here, especially with all those compound corners and the elevation change. So look for them to be a little feisty in the first few laps as they come around onto the main straight now.
Right.
I think what's happened is that it might have been set to a standing start, and that's why we don't.
No,
Maybe not.
I'm wondering what's going on here. So you're right. Maybe something's not quite right.
I think potentially we may have had it set to standing start here because the clock has not started.
Yeah, I'm about to verify that right now, and as you've called it perfectly
formation
fine,
standing.
Bagsy, it's set to formation standing. So that's
Wow.
that's unfortunately an error on the server host's part for getting that up and running. So they are going to have to spend a little bit of time to sort some stuff out. And while that happens, we're
getting some very nice burnouts on the front straight here. This is quite nice to watch.
There's shenanigans going on. There's burnouts going on. There's rear wings going flying. And now we are going to, I guess, take a little bit of a breather for a second while we await getting the grid back in order. Well, that was a bit of a moment. Well, what we might do
Applause
is...
all around, lads.
Applause all around. Well, instead of taking a little bit of a break, we will just run up, I guess, our upcoming events coming up after tonight's proceedings are over, so everybody can get a bit of a handle on what's happening. So, of course, Michael, you and... Well, we're not sure if Kiwi Chris Riddell's going to make it tomorrow night, but ATCC Group A action from Barbagallo. This is the third round of a triple header in as many weeks.
Yeah, so that's going to be all on my shoulders tomorrow night. Hopefully Kiwi will be able to join us, but I'll be running the stream for my first time out. But that championship has been absolutely awesome to watch and to commentate on. We've seen a bunch of different tracks favor a bunch of different characteristics of the cars, and I think Barbagallo will be a nice balanced racetrack as we saw with Pukekohe last week out. So yeah, join us for that. That series has so far thrown out some really, really interesting racing.
Yeah, with Will Devonish winning the last pair of races as well, so he's the man that they're all starting to chase right now. Super 2 guys, just a reminder that your next race is on Friday this week. So Lewis Wedding will be hosting that one over on his channel, Loose 89. Surfers Paradise is the venue. It is the original historic IndyCar layout, the ones that we did long time ago now, not the current V8 supercar layout. There's been a bit of work overnight from Lewis to get the track cuts all sorted for that one. So that's the same layout that we will be running in the regular supercars a little bit later on in the year. Just something a little bit different for a change. Porsche Cup. Porsche Cup kicks off next Tuesday, the 4th of August. So if there's any Porsche Cup guys watching this now or watching it back a little bit later on in the week, do not miss that one. It is starting officially, the 9-race series over on the Loose 89 channel. Lewis Wedding's not going to be commentating that one solo. He's going to be with Michael the Floodman's Alivari.
Yeah, I couldn't let a Porsche series happen without my involvement in some way, shape, or form. So you can't get rid of me that easy.
I don't think you'd pass up that one in any opportunity. Although you're
no way.
And then the GT3 Sprint Series resumes here on the Atwell Broadcasting Channel 2 weeks from now on the 11th of August. And we're going back to Japan for that one, for the second round in Japan in 3 attempts. And that will be at Suzuka. Coincidentally enough, we start the series, as you can see or as you've seen on the calendar before, by going Japan, Australia for the first 4 rounds. And then we head off to the Middle East and the US. So we've got a little bit of, I think, sort of Asia Pacific sort of dominates the GT3 Sprint Series. Getting a comment through in a live chat here, Michael, that if there's room in the commentary box tomorrow night, Rhodey would like to join you for commentary. Of course, he hasn't been feeling all that well recently, so might not be.
That would be a nice conclusion.
Not a bad commentary partner to fill in for Kiwi Chris Riddell.
No, it would be a nice inclusion. So if Rhodey's up to it, it'd be great to have him along. I will be probably more nervous about the fact that I'll be running the stream for the first time ever for myself. So it won't be a radio show as we've done in the past when Kiwi's not been available. I've actually got everything planned out, all the assets ready, and I'm gonna try streaming it. So what's the worst that could happen, right?
Yeah.
It'd be nice to someone else to do all the commentary if I just have to worry about streaming it.
No, you're absolutely right. It's not an easy thing doing the streaming from here, and also just doing streaming in general, but once you get the hang of it, it's not too bad. Waiting on a couple of drivers to get back into the service so we can get the grid set and get going again. And just having a look, yes, they have moved it over to a rolling start. So that's a good thing to check on. Although the other thing that we do have is an upcoming event, and we did allude to this 2 weeks ago that we were going to reveal it last weekend, we did, and that is the revival of the Bathurst 500. So there it is, October the 22nd and the 25th. Within a week of us, actually inside of a week, because it's only been 5 or 6 days of us launching this event, out of a maximum field of 26 cars, we already have 18 cars registered for this event. Not all of them with driver pairings. So guys and girls, if you are still wanting to get involved in that series, you better get a wriggle on, and you better get a wriggle on fast, because there's already been a number of spots filled.
Yeah, you definitely want to get on that quickly. It'll be because once it fills up, there's very little chance of getting in unless someone has to drop out last minute. As it looks like we're back on the track, and the safety car has taken up an interesting position. So hopefully, I'm concerned that it's going to transition and take a hard left turn into the racing line, potentially through Peter. And hopefully, a little bit.
Well done.
It wasn't quite as bad as we'd thought, so that's lucky.
Now,
the last thing Peter wants is damage at the start.
Has somebody missed the start here? Has Steve Bolger missed the start?
Bolger's in the pits.
Yeah, he's missed the start.
Oh, wow.
So this is not a good sign. I don't know what's going on here, but this is a long lap as well, so he's going to be quite a substantial distance behind the field. Now, everybody's going to have to be really careful here, because the safety car goes around at a snail's pace. So they're going to have to allow a little bit of room here.
I believe it was even the speed of the safety car was even bumped up in the actual files of the game, and even then it's still taking quite a meandering approach to some of these corners.
Yeah, now this track has been ported, I believe, from R Factor. I think someone had designed it and brought it across, and there are a few little issues that are not quite perfect. So it does need still need a little bit more work, but it is what we've got. And you can see the safety.
Steve Bolger's left the game entirely now, so
wow.
everyone else has been promoted up a position. That's really unfortunate for Steve Bolger. I'm not sure what's happened there. If he's had an internet issue, he must have had an internet issue of some kind or a game issue that's caused that to happen.
Yeah, something's not quite right there, and you're right. We're now down to 17
I'm
runners.
looking. He's still in the Discord server in the race chat, so I think it might have been a game issue.
What a peculiar way to start the first race of tonight. Yeah, I don't really know what you can say. Steve Bolger, podium getter last time out, he's not going to be able to make the start. So, yeah, wow, this is not what we want to see for this series and this race at the moment. But I guess the show rolls on with a question mark. Maybe we'll have to reset again. But it looks like everyone's getting ready for the race start at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be, it's one of those things that happens. The safety car decides to hit the anchors for no apparent reason. Just really wants to take that corner with the least amount of wear on the tyres.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bolger's going to have to, hope for bad things to happen to his main competitors and have a better run in the next race. That's the good thing about this, is that even if you have an issue, there is a second race in the night to try and redeem yourself.
That's right. And if I was Pete Savage, I'd be maintaining the gap that I am to the pace car right now and just making sure that I've given it enough space, because you do not want to be following it as closely as he was about 30 seconds ago and run into the back of it. He really should be acting like the pace car and should be making sure the whole field just checks up at about 80 k's an hour and let this pace car get away, because it's about to break left.
Yeah, oh dear. A problem I'm seeing is that Will Devonish is now in second, so he's technically out of position here, as is Lime Mitch. So I'm hoping there won't be penalties given here for being out of position.
Yeah,
because everyone should have moved up.
Yeah, I kind of hope not. This is going to be a bit of a worrying thing, but we'll see what happens as we get to the line. The green light goes and we are away, and it all looks like everything's been maintained so far, so no penalties have been handed out. That's a good thing. Let's see what the run's like to turn number one. Savage is going to lead. There's 3 wide a bit further back as a few cars start to try and come through the field. That was Hayden Kruger looking down the inside of one of the I think one of the GTRs there potentially, or it might have been Termo's Viper. Now this is part of the circuit where it's kind of single file, and you've got to just watch yourself there. One of the Vipers very, very wide in the back. I think that's Glenn Miles. But so far, everything looks pretty clean, but Savage is not being allowed to get away out front. Lime Mitch is staying right with him.
Oh, someone's around in the background.
Yes, Wedding.
Lewis Wedding's gone around.
Yeah, Wedding's around, and we've got a
5.
safety car as well. So that's a huge problem there. There's Wedding. So this is the first. The safety car was actually supposed to be turned off. So this is a brand new thing. This is not what was expected. What happened to Lewis Wedding there? Caught in the mid-pack.
I think Lewis just went wide around turn 5 and saw the...
Oh, no, he got contact. He got contact from the Viper at Glenn Miles. Oh, and somehow he missed Greg Tara. Somehow he missed Brian Walsh in all the spinning as well. So that was just a bit of side-to-side contact between the 2 cars, and I'm wondering if Lewis Wedding's pulled over to the side of the track here, and I'm wondering what's about to happen. Is he about to... I think he might actually be maybe typing some server commands in or something, I think, maybe to see what's going on here, but because I don't believe the safety car is meant to have made an appearance. This is not a... This is not what we were expecting.
Have a safety car series, yeah.
Yes.
Just as an aside, that wasn't the reason for the safety car. We had Bagaccino also go off and then come to a stop on one of the cut-through roads, which is actually what's triggered the safety car, I would expect.
Okay, there you go. So Savage will run, and yeah, Wedding on my other screen's going again, so he was purely and simply just, I guess, trying to get a few things going. That's the safety car off in the distance. I'd imagine he was waiting for it to come out so he could then tell it, hey, you're going back in at the end of this particular lap, because it's actually not meant to be there. So the running order, Savage from Lymich and Will Devonish. Brendan Ross has moved up 1 or 2 spots. There he's only moved up the 1 spot into P4. Noah Tara and Termo all up, of course, 1 spot. Kruger Burko, Joyner and Glenn Miles is in the 10 at the moment. The guys at the back really didn't make any huge inroads. They really didn't have much of an opportunity to, so they've still got a fair bit of work to do here.
Greg Tarr and Matt Schwass are the two did the best off the start, both up 5 positions respectively.
Yeah, and Tara started almost plumb last as well, didn't he?
I believe he started 16th and Schwass 18th.
Yeah, so they've been able to keep their nose pretty clean throughout that restart. So that's good that they've managed to get that over and done with before the safety car came out, because that places them quite nicely. You see Greg Taro there, he is just in behind Glenn Miles. And then Matt Schwass is in behind Brian Walsh. And then still a couple of quick guys behind, so Luke Rosella and then Lewis Wedding's off the back of this as well. Now I'd imagine when Wedding gets back up to the rear of the Snake, that he may end up having to pass a couple of cars, but we'll see how he goes.
I think because he stopped on track, the game will have put him below those people. I'm just wondering, is there a way for him to enter? Can you enter server commands while you're still in the car, or do you have to go back to the menu? Because I was under the impression that you had to go back to the menu.
Now there is a chat button that you can actually use for the in-game chat, and you can use that same facility to put the server commands in. He's obviously got to be an admin before he goes, which he was.
Oh, there you go.
And so you can get it done. It's basically a set of / commands if you're an admin to make the adjustment.
Today I learned that you can do that.
And it looks like he's trying to do it again because we got the safety car going around another lap.
Yep. So I think you're right. Yeah, he's slowing down and he knows what the commands are, just trying to type it in to tell it that it needs to go through. Maybe he actually did it at an inconvenient spot. I'm actually watching him on the other screen. He's actually gone off the grass there, but looks like he's got himself going again.
So the start of this race has been a little calamitous, all things considered.
Yeah, very calamitous, I think we probably should say. We certainly weren't expecting a safety car to come out. Now that'll be rectified for race number 2, no doubt. All right, well, while we're waiting for this to get underway, we might go back to Mr. Zalavari's Bend Fun Facts.
I've got a nice little story about the first GT3 event at the Bend. So initially, this was the opening weekend of the Bend for, I think it was the first event on the circuit. So they did a GT3 endurance with the Shannon's Nationals supporting was the event. And I'll call it.
Oh, we've lost Floody very temporarily. I'm not sure what's going on there. You still with us, Michael? No, he has. He's unfortunately vanished. Bagsy, you're still with me, I take it. No, we've actually lost the co-commentators for the moment, so I'm hoping that's not a signal of things to come. For some reason, looks like maybe Discord's having a little bit of a moment here. We'll see if we can get our co-commentators back in the next 30 seconds or so. Very, very unusual for them to be cut off mid-sentence. Of course, both of them are based in facilities that are not the commentary box here in southeastern Melbourne. So we are relying on Discord for their audio. And looks like there may have been a temporary drop on the Discord front. I can just see off to my screen on the side that it looks like it is trying to get reconnected to Discord. So hopefully we're not too far away. But for the moment, we will stay with the possible race restart that is about to take place. And we will hope that we get our server back up and running for Discord in a few minutes' time. So safety car is in. Looks like Discord is having a few moments here.
Yep.
And it looks like we're back. Here we go. All right, so that was very timely. That was a bit strange, but we're back to green flag racing, gentlemen. Here we go, and we've got another safety car straight away. So something is oh dear, this is not going well. And I
I
think
think the safety car may have triggered the safety
car,
car potentially.
Yeah, I think so. So it looks like Lewis Wedding's actually abandoned the race here, and I think this race is probably going to be red flagged, and we may need to make a couple of adjustments here. So this is going to be third time lucky if we have to get this thing going. 10 minutes in, and we've had two safety car come out, and a safety car cause a safety car. And I'm definitely looking for the into the YouTube chat right now, and I'm only seeing one F, now two Fs. So I think we're about to hit F Central in a few seconds. And there we go. And there we go.
Michael getting in on the action in the chat as well.
It's times like this, gentlemen, that all you can sort of do is laugh.
Yeah, a little bit. It's some races are like that, some games are like that, some events are like that. Unfortunately, yeah. What can you do?
Yeah. So, I think Lewis has gone.
So far, this first race is going about as well as Victoria's response to the coronavirus. So,
yeah, sadly,
we'll say this is music to the ears for Bolger though, because he's going to be able to get back in and resume his second place, presumably, when this race restarts.
Yes,
that is what's going to happen, as we have Lewis Wedding join us.
Yeah, and Will Devonish has dropped as well, so I think Lewis has got to and Will have got to go off and sort something server side. Lewis, I'm assuming you've arrived in here to confirm our suspicions.
Yeah, we've got to restart the server because we've had, looks like twice now, we've had incorrect settings on the server. So obviously the first time that you saw it was set to standard, just not a rolling start.
Yep.
And then the second time here, it's got full flags on, which means the safety cars come out. And as we've seen already, it's quite sensitive around this track. So don't know why it stayed out the second time, but I'm assuming just because the cars are driving around so slowly that the game assumed that there was an accident impending, so it called the safety car again. So we're going to restart the server and get it going. Do apologise, obviously making this run late again, but hopefully third time's a charm.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you very much for giving up some of your time, Matt. Thank you very much for trying to get it back on track. Clearly just didn't work out the way we needed it, but at least we now understand what the drama is. That's one of the good things about Lewis Wedding, gents. We've seen this a few times where he's volunteered his time instead of racing. He might have been racing in a series and then has pulled out and gone to try and fix it because it believes in the good of the group and wants to see everybody enjoy themselves. But that being said, he also needs to have a bit of luck go his way, and it's not fair on people like himself if they can't race and enjoy it as much as everybody else.
It's one of those things where we've got some very hard-working admins in this group who run these series and put a lot of time and effort into all the things like making sure the skin packs are up to date, making sure everyone has the track and the right versions of the track and things like that. And Lewis Wedding definitely does a very good job with that. And sometimes you just have a bit of bad luck. Sometimes the game doesn't cooperate. Sometimes there's just little bits and pieces in these tracks that cause issues. I know there are a couple of times last series where Wedding gave up on races where he probably would have done quite well in and didn't even participate in them because he was doing live stewarding, so that everyone else was having a better racing experience, which is what we want. Not just people watching it to enjoy it, but we want everyone's racing here for fun. We're not racing for sheep stations, so it's nice to have that go as smoothly as possible. And when you have good admins, that really helps.
Yeah, not wrong there. There's a lot of hard work that does go into a number of these series as well. There's a number of guys in the admin group all pull their weight. Some do a fair bit more compared to others, and those guys aren't thanked enough for some of the work that they do. It's not easy trying to run several different series, and not only that, but do your own real life things as well. But yeah, I do say quite often to a number of the guys that race in some of the series, make sure you grab an admin and you say thank you for some of the work that they've done. And a lot of the Super 2 guys have done just that with some of the work that Lewis has put in over the last countless months, getting things ready for some of the future events as well. All of it's voluntary as well, and we never ask for anything in return. It's always we get our kicks out of making sure that everybody enjoys what we do and can appreciate what we have tried to put together for as many people as possible. But sometimes things like this just come around, and as much as you try and test the living crap out of some of these things, they just come around, and you can't predict some of these things sometimes.
The joy of live TV and live races, right?
And the joy of Discord as well, going completely pear-shaped at inopportune moments as well.
Yeah, that was very funny. What happened there?
Yeah, I'm not sure. For some weird reason, you were talking about your fun facts, and it just cut off mid-sentence. And then when I tried to cross back to yourself and Bagsy, no one was there. And then Discord on my end decided it wanted to reconnect itself for some reason. So I wasn't sure whether that was an actual Discord problem or just something on this end. But it just the stream was still going.
Yeah, I think it was a Discord problem where it just had an issue because the live stream kept on rolling, and I had to listen to it, and it just cut out in the middle of Michael's story. So it was unfortunate.
Yeah.
But
well, while we wait for this to get underway again, we might actually go back to that fun fact that Floody was talking about, actually, because we're just waiting on Hans has just asked for it to continue.
Oh, well, I guess I'll quickly finish off as they grid up again. The long and short of it was that they tried to run both configurations of the track that opening weekend, the GT3s on the endurance loop, the 7.7 kilometer track layout, and then all the support categories that they had for that weekend on the international circuit with the one that we're running now. We'll call that ambitious to say, because prevailing weather conditions that weekend and maybe a lack of marshalling manpower meant that by the time we got to Sunday, when the 2-hour endurance event was meant to happen, they decided to just run the international circuit for the first time that weekend, by the way. So they'd done qualifying and everything on the long circuit, and then they had a 2.5-hour race on the international circuit, which was won by David Reynolds in a Mercedes AMG GT3. And I can't remember off the top of my head who his co-driver was. So yeah, that was my first event as a marshal as well. So yeah, that's my Ben fun story.
There you go.
Right. So just like to say, some heads up driving from Peter there. He knew the safety car was going to do that dive to the left, and he was ahead of the curve on that, got it right out the way. And Steve Bolger is going to be super happy that all these issues have happened, because he now gets to retake his second place, and things are looking up for Bolger.
And we've actually got a 19th entrant as well. So Bagsy, I might get you to run through this grid. Third time's a charm, and my fingers are crossed that we're going racing for 30 minutes coming up.
Here we are. All right, we'll go for a bit of a quicker run through. Peter starting from first. Bolger, happiest man on the grid at the moment, in second. Devonish third. Lime Mitch fourth. Brendan Ross in fifth. Noah Taro in sixth. Termo and Kruger in seventh and eighth. Burko and Luke Joyner ninth and 10th. Glenn Miles and Brian Walsh are 11th and 12th. 13th is Manuel Santino. Lewis Wedding in 14th, wasn't able to set a time in qualifying. Bagacino in 15th. Also, these are all people who weren't able to set times in qualifying. Lewis Wedding is apparently the luckiest of all of them, because he's the top runner that didn't set a time. Bagacino, Greg Tara, Luke Rosella, who arguably could have been on pole in this race. Matt Schwass in 18th, and Mitch Hathaway in 19th is our new runner.
All right, 19 cars, and we're about halfway around this lap at the moment. So
I should have gone into more detail.
very quick fly through from Bagsy there. We're just on the little back straight at the moment, heading up toward the Sector 2 split.
Do we have a 20-second fun fact, Michael?
The 7.7 kilometer circuit is the second largest permanent racetrack in the world, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people already knew that.
I believe that's only to Spa, yeah?
No, it is actually longer than Spa. Spa-Francorchamps is 7.004 kilometers, and it is actually the Nürburgring Nordschleife, the 21 kilometer monster in the Eifel Mountains, which is the longest permanent racetrack in the world.
I totally forgot that was an entirely permanent racetrack, wasn't it?
Yes,
That's
it is.
Slightly embarrassing.
They're racing there this weekend, by the way, the Nürburgring Langstrecke Series on that circuit. So a 4-hour race there for GT3 all the way to Renault Clios.
You'll Well, that's
if you're looking for more.
That's to be live streamed on YouTube, I believe, as well. They do all most of that now, which is good to see.
Yes, it does. Yes, they do. It'll
All
be
right,
sick.
gentlemen, let's keep our fingers crossed, our toes crossed, everything crossed. Same with everyone in the live stream. This is the third time
Eyes
lucky.
crossed?
Not eyes crossed. We need to be watching the track. All right, safety car is in pit lane. Pete Savage has control of the field. 30 minutes has started. Let's go racing. Here we go. Savage gets a pretty decent launch as well. Sort of left Steve Bolger trailing a little bit. Spreading out and fanning out, 3 and 4 wide on the run down to turn number 1. Turmo's having a go down the inside. Steve Bolger's been swamped by Lime Mitch, who's shot almost to the lead. Runs Pete Savage off the track. That allows Bolger through. Savage getting caught on the curbs. Lime Mitch is still fighting for second place. There he goes in at turn 3. A little bit of a love tap and some sideways action from the BMW driver. These guys are not leaving anything on the table now at the resumption of racing.
Down into turn 6 on the first lap. It's Peter Savage in second place, but the BMW sends it through, and Will Devonish is going to try and go with them. There's a little bit of contact there, and Devonish got the power down on the other side, but this has all let Steve Bolger run away, and there's more contact as they go over the hill at turn 8 and then down towards turn 9.
This is about, as close as you want to get, Bags. You don't want to be rubbing any panels any harder than this.
I mean, they couldn't rub any harder. They're going to set fire between them if they keep going rubbing back and forth this much. It was an incredible start from Lime Mitch. Had the lead going into the corner. He wasn't able to get the power down quite as much, but Bolger's just got a nice second lead here from Lewis Battling. And Peter Savage, awful start, down 3 positions on the first lap.
A little bit of trouble with some of the trackside cameras as well. Just getting caught up behind a few ad boards here. Lime Mitch is not letting Will Devonish get away. The gap to the front has sort of been stabilised a little bit after the opening stanza.
Lime Mitch goes towards the inside down at turn 17. A great passing opportunity. Doesn't quite get it done this time, but now it's the all-important run back up the hill through this tight turn 18 and then onto the main straight. And Lime Mitch gets a big wiggle over the curb there, so he's not going to be able to get the power down, and that's going to let Devonish off the hook. But it is Bolger with a second advantage, a second and a half already at the end of the first lap.
I'm not sure if that's letting Devonish off the hook, because Lime Mitch is going to go down the inside here. He got the slipstream.
Under brakes.
And he gets the pass done.
Good pass.
Although, is it 100? It's not 100% done, because Devonish is still on the inside. They maintain the inside. They're going to run side by side. And now Lime Mitch is going to have the ascendancy into the next set of corners. They're still overlapping. They've been exactly side by side for 2 or 3 corners now. And it's beautiful racing here. Lime Mitch is on the inside still. Devonish tries to outbrake him, but not quite. Oh, he runs quite wide there. Peter Savage
got to get the block on. Can't get the block on. That's twice now. He's centred under brakes.
There's calamity in the background.
That's Turmo. I believe that's Turmo that's gone around in the... Yeah, it is. There he is. I believe there was some contact there as well. He was having a really good start, and he's had, I think, some contact with another one of the cars in the mid-pack. So,
in the same time, Greg Turra barged his way past Noah Turra as well. No love lost between those two.
Right, so here we go. So Wedding, very, very decisive move from Lewis Wedding. Head sent it under brakes. Luke Joyner backed it in and just couldn't control it. And there was, you said, Bagsy, there was some contact there between the Turras as well. Turmo doing the right thing, not being able to rejoin safely. They had to let the whole field, or balance of the whole field, go past, and is now down in 17th place. That was no fault of his own, but you've got to say
really bad.
Luke Joyner just probably completely missed his braking marker.
As has put it, Joyner just yeeted it into that corner and it did not pay off whatsoever.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder if there might be a bit of a brake bias issue on Joyner's car if he's maybe not set that up properly, because that braking zone is actually quite significantly downhill, so it's really difficult and really easy to lock the rears there as they're snaking across the main straight. Lewis Wedding trying to break the draft of Hayden Kruger and the 2 Turras behind as they rise over the hump and into the braking zone of turn 1.
Devonish and Lime Mitch coming together in the first corner.
Yeah, in the replay that we were watching for Turmo, Lime Mitch had managed to get back past Will Devonish, and now some contact at turn 1 has allowed Pete Savage to sneak through as well. Brendan Ross is doing pretty well to hang with this group as well. These guys fighting over 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th. Bolger starting to get away.
Savage had the cover there, and Lime Mitch has absolutely sent that BMW through there. And Savage comes back on the inside. Now, can they go side by side?
Line there, though.
Yeah, but it's very difficult to there's a big pinch
Oh,
point
but you gotta
here.
be careful. Got to be careful. It's single track through here. You don't want to be side by side at this part because otherwise you're going to end up in the weeds. And they've
Single track through here, but no one told these guys.
Yeah, no one told them. And then have a look behind. There's another little train that's starting to form as well. We go back to Lewis Wedding heading 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th place cars. Luke Rosella has had a blinder, managed to pick his way through the field in the first 2 laps. Now inside the top 10. Oh, just, sorry, is he, yeah, inside the
He's
top
just
10.
got 9.
Just picked off Noah Tara, so he was 10th.
Both Rosella and Wedding are up 8 positions from the start.
Mad starts for the pair of them. I can't believe Rosella went around the outside out of turn 12 to make that move before turn 13. That's crazy.
Mid-corner moment for Wedding.
Big wiggle.
Big wiggle. Rosella's having a sneaky look at Greg Turra down here into turn 17. Are these guys, because we've got our trouble with our live races timing here, guys, are these guys catching the guys ahead?
At the moment, it looks like I've got live races working for me. Bolger just set the fastest lap of 48 flat. That group is pretty solidly in the 48, mid 48s. Devonish actually did a 48.3 that time around, as Lion Mitch is vulnerable to Peter Savage, who dives very deep into turn 1 and covers the cutback through turns 2 and 3. So Savage now into 3rd place.
And Kruger has just been passed by Greg Turra as well at turn 1, and he had to make that move because Rosella was coming and coming hard. So now Rosella's going to try and get his teammate here in the other Audi, or the sister Audi, on the run up to turn 6. I reckon there's a send move probably going to be on here. And no, there isn't. Not on this occasion.
It's interesting to see the GTRs taking very different lines to the Audis through that corner.
Yeah,
there's a few different lines you can take there. It's like the opposite camber to, say, Simmons Plains. That hairpin at Simmons Plains, they plunge back down the hill. So you can actually take either the wide entry line or what the 2 Audis did there, the narrow entry, and kind of hug the apex there. I'd answer your question there, that this group is actually falling away from the group ahead by the tune of about a second a lap at the moment.
Yeah, on the last lap around, they were in the 150 bracket compared to the guys in the 148s. And Wedding being the one at the head of the train here. Here goes, I was about to say, here went Rosella on the move down into, I think that's turn 14 and 15. He wasn't quite close enough. He thought about the move though. On the wrong side.
And he's going to get the cut back on here through turn 17 as he pulls to the inside. And not quite. And Wedding's gone wide ahead of them. So that's actually compressed Greg Turra into the back of Lewis Wedding there. So 2 or 3 little battle groups going on in this bigger group.
Wedding had a moment mid-corner there, and he's really under attack from Greg Turra now.
Yeah, there's another move happening up here as well, with Savage having to go real defensive from Lion Mitch on the run to turn 1. Savage really hard cuts the opening corner there, and now Wedding having to defend really, really hard. Goes deep. Turra's going to go through here, and he does. That's an easy pass, and looks like Rosella finally going to get this move done on his teammate. 3 wide behind them with the GTR of Noah Turra as well.
Big moment for Turra there. That's going to cost him a chance at a position. Well, it might cost him a chance at a position.
These 2 Audis are very lively between the pair of them as they come through into turn 6 here. Wedding very narrow. And Rosella's gone wide, and that's just allowed his teammate back through on the inside. They make contact, wheel-to-wheel contact there. So again, Rosella's got to do all the hard work to get past his teammate once again.
Hayden saw that opportunity and took it there. Rosella wasn't that much wider than we've seen the GTRs go through that corner, and he just absolutely took that position.
He had a good run going there, but he had no room to work with, like working in a phone box. Just nothing doing for him to try and make that move stick before the left-right kink.
It's a brave man to make a move into 13. He thinks better of it, gets on the brakes earlier and drops out of that. But a big switch back into 14. Can't quite get the anchors on late enough to make that move. But as you can see through the bend, very, very difficult to really commit to a move because of all the changes in cambers and the changes in profile. And he's going to have a look again, and he's much deeper in this time. And his teammate's not making it easy for him. A bit of a side-to-side contact there as they come through turn 17.
And this is balking Noah Turra behind as well. He just doesn't know which man to go with at the moment. He's just got to stick with one of them and try and make it happen. He's going to stick with the pair of them playing snakies across the track. These guys still in
Now,
the
while
150
all this is
bracket.
happening, yeah, well, I was about to make that mention. The group ahead are in the 149s, and more importantly, out in front, Devonish and Bolger are in the 48s.
Line
The last
Mitch-
lap around,
So
both of them 48
Something's
flat.
happened to...
No, Will Devonish is still going. I'm wondering if there's been another issue with the timing gates on this track,
I'm wondering
and
about
he
this too,
might not
potentially.
have set a time
Mm.
because it was around sector 2 that I noticed him start to drop down through the field.
Yeah, he's
So I
gone...
hope that's not the case.
Yeah, I think he's gone a lap down as a result of this, so we need to be keeping in mind that there is a bit of an issue here because Devonish had set out after Steve Bolger, and as we look on the screens, there's our top two there, and then Will Devonish is actually, he'll be in back of shot here, there he is. So he definitely hasn't had an issue. He's probably gone, as you said, Bagsy, with a bad sector time. Now I'm about to go and confirm all of this on our opposite screen, and it's if we look to see Devonish at the bottom, yeah, it does appear he's had one of those track glitches come up again. Now, the instructions to all the drivers have been just to keep going, and we will sort this out later. It'll be a headache for us to sort the live races results out, but it also means that the point standings are going to be correct because we end up with them in an Excel sheet calculating everything. So this will all be taken care of manually. We just need to be mindful of where everybody is on the road.
Yeah, so for those who aren't sure what we're talking about, there's actually been a glitch over the course of the practice server on the exit of turn 13, the sector 2 marker. Sometimes it doesn't register, and it looks like it's condemned waiting to a 2-minute and 20-second sector 2 time. So essentially an additional lap there. So yeah, we'll make sure to have that fixed up post-race. In the meantime, though, Peter Savage has actually managed to make his way back around Lime Mitch for that effective third position. And Lewis Wedding has come under fire from Luke Roselia. So that's a move for 7th and 8th that the Audi driver has managed to effect. And he continues his charge up the field.
Yeah, and Wedding a bit unhappy with lap pedal, although Rosella's just dropped behind, and this is one of those little frame rate issues in game, internet connection dramas that he's had every now and again in the supercars as well. You could see he was clearly ahead. The next second he was behind. That's a glitch he's struggling to try and resolve in a timely fashion, and it has cost him at Barbagallo in the supercars when he debuted. He was tracking along quite nicely until that happened, and the next thing he appeared in Brenton Foley's car on the pit straight, and he was completely on another side of the circuit. So
Lime Mitch and Peter Savage is still battling it out. Lime Mitch is very close to the back of Peter Savage, battling for what is the last podium position. Keep in mind, Will Devonish is still ahead of them on track, despite the timing screens not reflecting that. But yeah, it's a very, very big battle for the last podium position, and Brendan Ross is just keeping there or thereabouts, keeping an eye on them, waiting, just sitting there menacingly. But Greg Taro is actually closing in on this group, I believe, but just looking at their lap times, had a quick glance, and it seems like he's catching up to them.
Yeah,
he's really broken away from, that group of Reading and he actually started at the back of that group and then made his way to the front of it.
Yeah. He's about 6 seconds off the back of Brendan Ross at the moment in a similar GTR. He's just lost a fair bit of time out of the final corner, but just waiting to see what the actual split happens to be. And it's still around the 6 or so second mark. So it's not that bad.
Just another update. We've had a similar glitch to Hayden Kruger. Yeah. So he's dropped down the field to 18th, but still sits behind the battle between Luke and Lewis, which rages on once again. This time, Roselia on the inside of turn 3. This time around, can't get it done again. So that Acura must have really nice mid-corner speed to be able to hold it on the outside of turn 3, because he's managed to hold Roselia behind there once again.
Oh, big late send from Luke Rosella.
It's a bit of a touch.
Lewis left in the space in that particular occasion, so they've managed to get away with that one. It's interesting coming back to this track glitch problem, because we've not seen this before. We did run TCR Oz here earlier on in the year, and we didn't have that particular problem, so I'm not sure if it's to do with the racing lines or something to do with these cars at this circuit, but it just doesn't agree with it, and we're not quite 100%
Oh, Hayden's
sure
round.
why.
Hayden's round.
Yep, there is back a shot.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a backer shot. There is the GTR, and there is Hayden Kruger behind, just rejoining to the track.
Oh, Wedding's red as well.
Wedding's red too.
And Luke Rosella just misses him.
Oh, wow. So Oh, I don't know which one we're going to have a look at here. We might have to have a bit of a
Have a look at Wedding. Have a look at Wedding. Rosella's, Kruger's spin was just a spin on his own.
Okay, well, there we go. So here's the one
I
for
reckon
Lewis Wedding.
see if we get an onboard from Luke for that.
Yeah, so Rosella and what did Wedding do here? So up the hill, bit of puff of smoke, little bit of a lock brake, and just tried to get on the power too early. Oh, great evasive action. Great evasive action from Luke Rosella. Presence of mind to understand what was going on and managed to get away with it.
Whoa. That's a squeaky bum moment there for Luke Rosella, but he inherits 7th place out of that. He's got the Taurus for company now. He's been sandwiched between two of them, although Greg is a few seconds up the road at the moment. So he'll be working on closing that gap down.
He's actually lost time here, Flood. He's gone from about 6 seconds in arrears to 7 seconds in arrears now, so he's really not making any inroads whatsoever into Brennan Ross ahead of him.
Yeah, last lap around a 48.2, played a 49.3 for Tara, so not quite the same pace as those guys ahead. In comparison, Peter Savage just set the fastest first sector of the race, 39.7 to sector 1, so he's looking racy, trying to get onto the tail of Will Devonish and close that gap down and maybe break away from the battle for 4th behind him, which is Lime Mitch and Brennan Ross, which have come closer together.
Will Devonish has just got a slight pace advantage at the moment over Steve Bolger, as our wonderful trackside cameras come into play again. We'll go and pick up Steve Bolger. So here he is, and Will Devonish has just been banging out some laps that are just a couple of tenths quicker per lap, and he's really started to close this margin down.
Just a little bit at a time is what it's been for Bolger. Sorry, for
48.3 for Bolger that time around, 48 flat for Devonish. So there's another 0.3 of a second gone. And more fun and games behind. Lime Mitch has had a moment. Brennan Ross is looking every which way to try and get around the BMW. Now looking for... he thought about trying to get away with the undercut. Ooh. And what a nice move.
Drives clean around the outside of him.
What a sweet move from Brennan Ross that was. That's probably a pass of the night for sure. Let's go and see if we can pick that up on the replay, because that's worth a look from the onboard camera. Here it is. Lime Mitch covered hardcore to the inside. Rossi's moved over, and then Lime Mitch has moved over to covering back. Rossi goes the other way. Bit of foxing, bit of back and forth. And then just plumb drove around the outside.
Amazing stuff there from Brendan Ross. Just impossible. And that's what that sort of crazy width down the main straight gives you. It gives you the opportunity to do crazy stuff like that. And wow, the audacity to even attempt something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. We've just been pointed out too by the eagle-eyed viewers in the chat that Lewis Wedding has also lost a lap for the same reasons as well. So not all going to plan for a number of drivers in the field at the moment with this track glitch that keeps appearing.
You've got to say, though, it has gone to plan for Steve Bolger, though. Remember, he wasn't meant to be in this race. He crashed out of the start of the original race as Manuel Santino gets off the track.
I think
so
that's
he's
hurt
currently
him too.
leading.
That hurt Bolger too, because I think he was expecting to dive down the inside of Manuel. He didn't expect to see him go onto the grass, so he lost a fair bit of ground to Devonish on that particular occasion too. So that's a really slow lap for Bolger, and now Devonish is right on him.
48.7 plays a 47.9, 0.8 of a second that lap alone. So now this battle for the lead of the race is on through turn 1. Very nicely done from the pair of them. Bolger a little wide in the switchback and gets a little bit of a swap on there as Luke Rosella sets the fastest lap of the race. But now the Lamborghini is stalking the big cat as they come through turn 5. The Raging Bull stalking the big cat. That's not really the way that's meant to work, is it?
No, I didn't think that was... was that Will Devonish going a little bit wide there and back a shot? Yeah, it was. So he went a little bit deep under brakes, just lost a hair of ground.
The thing for Bolger is that he's still got 10 more minutes or 11 more minutes of this defense that he has to do, because Devonish really closed that time up in a very short space of time. So I don't know if Bolger was just trying to be a bit more conservative to the point that it's let Devonish back into this, or if he just generally doesn't have the pace in this second phase of the stint.
Well, to answer that, Bagsy, Steve Bolger has just set the best first sector of the race, 39.73, and he's backed that up with a second sector on the marks as well. So Bolger might have been a bit foxy here. He might have actually saved a little bit of his tyres just to keep the Lamborghini at bay, because he's certainly got a bit of pace underneath him at the moment.
Looks like Brendan Ross and Lime Mitch are catching it back up to Peter Savage as well.
Yeah, I've been keeping an eye on them in the back of shot. They're really just slowly inching their way towards the Bentley, and we have a look at the lap times that they have been doing over the last couple of laps. Brendan Ross's best lap on the last lap. Yeah, look at that. Bolger gets a flying lap in there as well. Rossi's last lap was a pair of 48s, a 48.7 and a 48.5. Compared to Savage's 48.5 and 48.6. So they've been trying to inch their way closer, but Pete Savage, I think, has just kept a little bit more in the tank for a bit of reserve. What have you just seen there, Flood?
Well,
Big
it
moment
helps
for Ross.
it helps when Lime Mitch and Brendan Ross are battling each other, and a big slide out of turn one for Brendan Ross as he picked up the throttle, losing the position to Lime Mitch.
Well, here we go. We'll get this on the replay here, and then Lime Mitch makes the move down the inside at turn number one, and Rossi tries to pick the throttle up, and yep, got a little bit of a swirl on, and had to settle on the same line.
And that was enough for Lime Mitch to just hold that position down now. So they're still battling away for effectively fourth place, letting Peter Savage take that last step off the podium.
That Peter Savage took a look a bit there, because they were a lot closer on the previous lap.
Yeah, we'll have a quick look at the first sector times. Yeah, Peter Savage at 39.9, and then Brendan Ross at 40.8. So a second in that first sector alone is the difference, which has been given to Peter Savage. So maybe if they lay off of each other and start working together, they can start to reel in the Bentley. In that group, though, it's actually pretty funny. You got the three probably biggest cars of GT3 racing back to back to back. The Bentley, the BMW, and the Nissan.
Going back to the front here, guys. This is on again. Bolger with a 48.6 that time around. Look, from one extreme to the other, that's a full second difference as well. And Devonish is going to try and pounce down the inside at one, and Bolger leaves him the space, and Devonish has commanded the race lead here.
Bit rude from Devonish, that one, I think. I don't know, I think Bolger left him the cars width as required, and Devonish used him slightly to get through the corner there, but all's fair, I think, there.
It was certainly not a kind move, as Bolger gets a bit of a wheel spin moment in the middle of turn 6 there, right at the bottom of the hill. So he still scored it in first. So you'll see he's still got number one in the corner. But of course, Will Devonish having that timing glitch, that lap count glitch that we've been talking about, is our effective race leader at the moment. So that one will have to play out over the course of the race.
If we just go back to 6th place, Greg Tara and Luke Rosell. Luke Rosella's really closed up that gap. That was a very large gap that is now entirely gone. Yeah, and Tara is under siege.
He had a little bit of a nibble at him about 10 seconds ago as well, but there was no room for him to send it up the inside at 6. And he's just going to have to bide his time here. So this could be a top 5 finish or a top 6 finish for Luke Rosella by the time all this works out. Just trying to cause a little bit of a distraction here. There's 6 3/4 minutes to go.
He's going to dive into turn 14 and gets the high ground. And is he going to make the move? No, Tara hangs around the outside as they go through 15. And then there's this little switchback as they come back over the hill. Tara has the inside line this time. Is Luke going to try and dive to the inside? He foxes left, he foxes right, and hard on the brakes. But Nissan has better braking power this time around. They come out of the corner side by side. He can't go too wide through 18, and Rosella, he's going to try it. No, he lets the Nissan through.
That was very well done from Greg Tara to hold it around the outside there, but I think it's going to be for naught because Rosella's in that slipstream and is going to have a go down into turn 1. And yeah, he's quite easily alongside. How's it going? We've seen plenty of positions being attempted here, and Greg Tara he's just going to drive around the outside. He does not mind there. They're going to stay side by side through the whole first complex of corners.
Tried to
Very
pick it.
wide though from Taro that time, and he cedes that position to Rosella. What a sequence of corners from the pair of them. They did very well to battle it out over those few corners. And it's almost a little surprising that Taro was able to hold on for that long. Last lap around, as Rosella runs a little wide yet again at turn 6. The lap prior to that all going on, the difference in lap time was a second. So great work from Greg to hold on to force Taro to make... force Rosella to make that move the hard way.
Yeah, once again, Lime Mitch is closing in on Peter Savage for the final podium position, and he's got a bit of a gap to Brendan Ross now, so hopefully they won't be compromising each other so much, but they both seem to have the pace on Peter Savage when they're not fighting each other.
Yeah, just getting some word through as well. Looks like Lewis Wedding has lost a second lap, and that's confirmed by our timing that it has happened again. So we'll have to keep in mind.
Bolger's right back on Devonish at the front as well. He might have an opportunity into the first corner.
Yeah, he hasn't been letting him get away ever since Will got back into the race lead. I think Will might not have the tyres to fight with, and this is what we're talking about. Bolger has managed to stay with Devonish, so Devonish has dropped into the 48s now, and Bolger's matching him in terms of pace. So Bolger's going to keep a little bit in reserve here, maybe have a late charge at that first place.
4 minutes and 20 to go. He's got to make it soon.
That's still going to be 3 laps at least, possibly even another one.
Yeah.
Probably even another one for that matter. So there's still time here. He's got to think about where he has the pace relative to the Lamborghini ahead of him, and maybe try and figure out a way, outthink Will Devonish into that winning spot as Devonish runs the high line through turn 6 and gets the power down very nicely to lead up over the hill and then plunge down into turns 9 and 10, the sequence of right-handers. It's a bit like when we were talking about Istanbul in the GT3 World Challenge. You kind of have to outthink your opponent in some sections because you can't really pass through Sector 2. There just really isn't enough room or enough different lines, whereas if you got the run into the first corner, the run into turn 17, you might be able to do a little better. So you're going to have to figure out where you have the pace compared to your competitor and where you might be able to get an advantage over him. At the minute, it looks like Will is very good at that middle sector, but might not have the outright pace in a straight line. Although in saying that, he's actually stretched out a little bit of a gap this time around to Bolger.
Yeah, just a little bit. Behind them as well, Matt Schwass has managed, teammate Steve Bolger has managed to make a pass on Steve Burko for what's currently 9th on the road, but we know that is, I think, 11th place overall, just judging by how everything is currently sitting with drivers that need to have their laps given back to them. As we get down to...
So in the background, Brendan Ross is going to have a part 9 of this battle between Mitch and Ross. Potentially, not quite this lap.
No, not a little bit too far away. Didn't have quite the exit. Fastest lap for Luke Rosella, 47.6. So he snatches that one back from Steve Bolger.
And keep in mind where he is. He is 16 seconds off the lead, but he started dead last. He's up, 11 positions because there is Will Devonish ahead of him, who's technically behind him on the standings at the moment. Yeah. So it's a very good drive from Luke Rosella so far.
Yeah, and he got held up quite drastically by the traffic as well in the early going as well, not being able to clear
he was in that
traffic.
Big train with Wedding, his teammate, and Greg and Noah Tara.
So that battle at the front is still the closest battle on track at the moment. Oh, perhaps maybe accepting the battle for 4th. With Brendan Ross and
Burko and Matt Schwass is the closest battle on track at the moment. That's this battle on screen here now. This is, well, it says 9th and 10th, but we know that there's a couple of drivers that are pushing that down the order. And someone else has been a bit of a quiet achiever too is Mitch Hathaway. He's just a couple of seconds behind these guys as well, and he was stone cold motherless last at the flag, with the green flag drop.
Yeah, so he's effectively in, I think, 13th position.
Yeah, you've got to add two drivers on. So actually 3 drivers on.
He might even be behind Hayden Kroger as well. So 14th.
Yeah, we need to work this out because Lewis Wedding as... Oh, what's Matt Schwass done? He's gone the wrong direction. That is a huge brain fade. He's gone the wrong direction on the track. What on earth happened there? He's
taken the Brock Harvey route.
Oh, careful. Brock's in the live chat at the minute, Michael.
He deserves that. He knows what
he's
knows
been
what he
he's
did.
been disqualified
Yeah,
too.
he went the wrong way back onto the track.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
so he's lost out from that. So a brain fade from the teammate to the World Series champion has cost him a pretty decent
Potential
finish at
top
the end of
10.
the day. Now, clock's going to go 0 in a minute here. We're on lap 17, so we get one more after this. So there's a bit of lap
And
traffic
I'm just
here.
going to bring us, up to the front because we've got Will Devonish and Steve Bolger with, I think that's Glenn Miles just ahead of them as they come through turn 11 and
They just
12.
passed back Chino, and now they've got Glenn Miles.
So Glenn would be smart to just sidestep these guys and let them go through
Glenn-
here.
Yeah, he might not realise that Devonish is actually racing this for position as well, because it won't getting blue flags. For
Yeah,
Devonish.
that's true.
Yeah,
But he
correct.
does well there. Did well to let the pair go through without holding them up or affecting his own race. Next, of course, behind them will be Savage, Lion Mitch, and Brendan Ross. But Bolger's been energized by this as they come on to the penultimate corner for the penultimate time. And the chances are running out for Bolger now if he's going to try and get a
Big
move.
twitch there.
Yeah, a bit of a twitch, but he had a pretty good run, but he couldn't do anything with it. There's one more lap traffic car they have to worry about. That's Brian Walsh, and then they've got clear track after that. But if he's really going to have a nibble, he's got to send it now at the first corner. He's got to make the pass stick, and he's pulled out of the slipstream to see if he can make it happen, but he's still too
He doesn't
far
have the straight
back.
line speed compared to that Lamborghini, does he? As
Oh,
soon
on
as
the
he goes
brakes, on the...
slipstream-
Oh, got closed up very quickly under brakes as well. Devonish will be on the horn to Brian Walsh here saying, get out of the way. Race leaders are coming through. I expect the headlights to go in any minute.
And just as an aside, guys, remember that the race only finishes when the leader crosses the line. And at the moment, the leader is still scored as Steve Bolger by the game. So that means Devonish might still have to do another lap after the flag if he finishes the
Nah,
race.
it'll be. I think it'll be just be considered for timing purposes. Technically, he should do another lap,
yeah.
but
Yeah, it'll
yeah,
be...
no,
it'll-
he won't. He'll just be called as the winner and Bolger second.
Yeah, it'll be...
But the race will only stop when Bolger crosses the line. So that could be another little spanner that we have to figure out come the post-race analysis. And
Yeah, I've got some stuff ready to go here to take care of that little situation as everything happens. Oh, there's been a spin for Manuel
it's,
Centeno as well.
Mick
There's a yellow
Merriman.
flag, so that means Bolger can't have a go down here at the back straight. So he's going to have to think about sending it at one of these final corners.
it's got to be 17. 17 is really the only major passing opportunity they've got left as they come down the hill through 14 and 15 and then back up towards turn 16. Bolger, a bit of a wider line there, but he isn't quite close enough to the back of that Lamborghini. Devonish has done enough, at least for now, as they come through the penultimate corner. A little wide there from Devonish.
Oh, he's trying.
Oh,
Bolger's going to have a little bit... No, I was about to say he's going to have a bit of a look. Was he going to try and out-drag him to the line with a final run off the corner? He's going to try and see if he can get it, but he's not got the straight line speed to do it. So Devonish is going to hang on here. So Devonish is going to get the win, even though the graphic says Steve Bolger, because we know about the timing glitch. That means Pete Savage is going to get home for third. So Savage did enough to hang on to third place quite comfortably. And at the end of the day, too, it was Lion Mitch who managed Lion Mitch managed to kick away from Brendan Ross after all that as well. So that's a good result for Lion Mitch in fourth place over Brendan Ross in fifth. Luke Rosella is going to come home in sixth. So good result on debut for the wild cards. There's all sorts of shenanigans are going on here. That means Greg Turra ends up seventh. Now, where's Lewis Wedding and all of his guys? And Noah Turra eighth. So where's Lewis Wedding and all of his? Because he has lost 2 laps, so we've got to be mindful of this as well.
So
So everybody crossed the
came in after
line.
Hayden Kruger.
Yeah, so it was Hayden Kruger, then Termo will be Hayden Kruger, then Lewis Wedding will be 9th and 10th.
So
and then we
so
await.
that means Lewis Wedding is in 10th, correct?
Yep, and then Termo will come across the line now to finish 11th, and that will be Steve Burko, Mitch Hathaway, and Luke Joyner, 12th, 13th, and 14th. And Brian Walsh finished a lap down, so he will be. That is your field. That is the 19 cars that have raced for the first race tonight at the Bend.
Yeah, well, that's taken an eternity to try and figure that one out, I think, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, it hasn't been a smooth night. You can say that so far.
No, definitely
But
not.
it worked out in the end for Will Devonish taking home the race win. And do we have Will Devonish in the live chat at the minute?
The guys are just starting to make their way up at the moment. So just to confirm the order as they cross the line, given we did have the timing glitch in play there, is a win for Will Devonish by a very, very close margin. We will go back and fix up some of the live races stuff between rounds here. Then second place to Steve Bolger, with Pete Savage getting home in third place. And then fourth place on the road goes to Lime Mitch, with a fifth place to Brendan Ross. That's your top five. And then sixth place went to Luke Rosella. So that's a pretty decent debut driving from the back of the grid. Seventh place, this is where we've started to have to try and add people into the equation here. So, Bagsy, I'm not sure if you're keeping tabs on things for this particular one.
Seventh, I've got that one if Bagsy doesn't. Seventh was Greg Turrer. Eighth was Noah Turrer, and then it was Hayden Kruger,
Yep.
and then Lewis Wedding in 10th.
All right, so that rounds out the top 10, which is pretty much what we need to worry about for the moment. And then the guys that paid into the points position, so Termo got home for 11th ahead of Steve Burko, and then 13th going to one man I haven't got on the point standings,
Luke Joyner,
which was Luke Joyner in 13th. There we go. 14th man to score the 2 points on offer was
Mitch Hathaway. Oh, we missed Burko there.
Yeah,
so
Burko was 12th. Luke Joyner 13th. Mitch Hathaway getting home for 14th, and I think he said Brian Walsh was the last man home in 15th, so he gets a point.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
There we go.
I think so. There might be a little bit of malarkey. I've been given something completely different from Rhodey, which shows Luke Joyner in 17th. So I'm not sure about that.
We'll go back.
But I guess we'll figure that out. The important thing is we know our top three, and we have our race winner in the booth with us. Will, back to the top. Welcome back to the top step of the podium. Just take us through that race from your perspective.
Bit of a weird one with the timing. Admittedly, I do stare at the timing monitor quite a bit when I'm chasing someone, so not having that chasing down Bolger was enlightening. But yeah, happy with the setup of the car. It sort of performed pretty much the same regardless of the start or the finish of the race and tyre wear. So happy with how it turned out tonight.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can't be unhappy with the first place, I think, can you? But decent race all around for you. Just take us through those early lap battles with that group, including Peter Savage, and then you're chasing down the Steve Bolger, of course.
Yeah, it was a bit of biff and barge, especially those first few laps, and Lime Mitch was definitely getting his shoulders out, and the elbows out, and I think elbowed me in the face a few times. And same with Pete. So, but that's sort of what this sort of series is. It's allowing the GT3s to be more like rubbing his racing sort of racing. So, yeah, really enjoyed that. Bolger, I don't think put a foot wrong the whole race. I was just able to be a bit faster than him lap after lap. But yeah, full credit for Bolger. I think he was probably the only car that didn't have a dent or a bump on him all race.
Yeah, it was a bit like that in that mid-pack battle. Just finally, your third consecutive podium for the Sprint Series. How are you enjoying these cars?
Yeah, same car as last season. It's amazing what I can do when I don't spin out the first lap.
So fingers crossed you don't spin out the first lap of the next race.
Yeah, fingers crossed. But like, I actually really like the bend, and it really suits these cars. So it's yeah, really looking forward to tonight and the results we'd get.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on taking home a race one victory.
Thank you.
Second place tonight was Steve Bolger. Steve, not quite there at the very end of the race, but you're still going to be very happy with the second place considering what happened at the start of the first attempt at the race this evening.
Yeah, well, at least I was able to make the grid. That was a bonus. So it was better than it was looking like. But yeah, pretty happy with that. I think going into the first corner, I saw someone in my mirrors, pretty sure it was Lime, going to send it down the inside. So I thought I'd just back out of that and see what happened, and it just opened the door for me, and then I just tried to bolt, which worked for a little while, and then Will was just like a shark. It was just lap after lap, about a tenth.
Yeah, we made the comment. It was like the raging bull chasing the silky cat. Almost at the very end there, did you have anything to fight with Will at the end, or were you running low on tires and fuel and everything else?
Tires were getting pretty low, but I think Will was in the same boat. I was expecting him to sort of skip away when he got past me, and then I was pretty encouraged by seeing how loose he was in front of me, and I was able to keep pace with him. Just couldn't quite get in a position where the Jag can make a move on the straight on the Lambo, unfortunately. But I was able to keep the gap pretty comfortably in the end.
Yeah, fair enough. Second tonight, your second podium of the season. Looking forward to trying to keep the number one on the rest of your car for the end of the season.
Yeah, why not? Better than any other number, isn't it?
Depends. Well, congratulations on second place tonight, and third place for race one was Peter Savage. Pete, great race from you in the end. Some willing battles between yourself and the rest of the top five. Just give us your highlights from that race.
For me, I'd probably say my highlight was when I finally did get in front of them and I was able to get some clear air. I was finally able to get some laps around the track where the car felt pretty solid, and yeah, I was able to keep pace with the front two, which is pretty surprising. Yeah, I'm honestly really happy with that third place. I didn't think I was going to have much going into tonight.
Well, what makes you say that? Why were you so worried?
I have never driven this track before. I've almost never seen it raced, and I did no practice coming into tonight, so it was a little bit worrying. I didn't start finding my pace until right before the race, which was pretty lucky.
Yeah, well, I mean, in that situation, a third place is pretty impressive. Do you think there's still a little bit more pace to find for the second race this evening?
Possibly. I'll honestly, at this stage, be very happy with a top five, but I definitely wouldn't mind going 4 from 4 in podiums.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed for that, and congratulations on your third place in race one.
Thank you.
So that was your top three, and an interesting note that we've just seen in the race chat that we're skipping qualifying for the second race. We're going to go straight in based on the grid from race one. Sorting from the finishing positions of race one. So, maybe a little more difficult for the likes of Luke Rosella and the Taras, who might have had a poor race, and for Lewis Wedding himself to come through the field in the second race.
Well, that's an interesting dynamic. Bagsy, what do you reckon this throws up? Because if they're looking at using the grid from race one, now we don't know for sure whether that is actually the grid as in the starting grid from race one or the finishing positions from race one. We're going to have to go and figure that part out. If it's the grid from race one, that's a huge problem. If it's the finishing order from race two, it's not so bad for some of these guys.
I believe it's the finishing order from race one, just based on the way Wedding has worded it and sorting the grid from race one. He, of course, hasn't specified how they're going to sort the grid from race one. They might be sorting the grid randomly from race one or reverse. Who knows? I think in terms of what is most efficient and practicable, sorting it by finishing position from race one is probably the best way to go. If we wanted a really crazy race, we'd make it a reverse good race and just everything would be out the window then. It'd probably be a 5-car pile-up at the first corner, which would be interesting but not good. So we'll see what happens. But I think that will translate to a pole position for Will Devonish, and it means that those who did have poor qualifyings in race one or in qualifying one for race one, who made their way up the field like Wedding, and more specifically Luke Rosella are going to be in a position more where they should be.
Yeah, I think you're right. We'll really get to start to see some of these guys that were meant to be a bit closer to the start of the field that, we probably should have been right up there to begin with, actually start to see what sort of pace they really do have and if they can really seriously threaten the leaders. I mean, we did expect that Rosella was going to be up there. If the practice times and everything were to be judged upon. It's just an unusual thing that's happened, and we're hoping that it doesn't rear its head too much again. During the race, I actually went and grabbed the dedicated server commands list just to see if there was anything that I could do on a second screen to add some laps back to these drivers to put them on the correct lap. But unfortunately, I couldn't find anything apart from it says adding. It does say adding laps, but I was sort of in two minds about whether I could actually try it or not. Probably something I need to have a look at, and if anything happens again, I'll probably try it with Lewis because he's already sort of thrown the series in. I wouldn't say thrown the series in the bin, but he's already sort of a bit annoyed that the series is not. He's off to a bad start, so he's probably the candidate to try it on, I'd imagine, guys.
Yeah, what's the worst that could happen, right? It's not like we'd have more go wrong tonight so far. I do think it's a little unfortunate we're not getting a second qualifying because I would have loved to have seen what a fired up, angry Luke Rosella could put down in qualifying 2 on a hot lap. I think we really missed that opportunity to see what he had to offer. But a 6th place start for him, certainly better than a 17th or 19th place start that he had in the first race. So fingers crossed that he's able to progress through the order. Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. We've had a weird night all around. And it looks like at the moment we've actually lost 5 cars from race 1 in the lead into race 2. We've got only 14 drivers in the server for race 2. So it's been a little bit of a weird night so far for AMS Oz in the GT3 Sprint Series.
Yeah, not something we're usually accustomed to seeing. Now, let's just get a handle on who's actually missing at the minute. So both the Taras are there. Brendan Ross, Steve Burko, Pete Savage, Hayden Kruger, Will Devonish, Termo, Lime Mitch, Luke Joyner, Matt Schwass, Brian Walsh, Luke Rosella and Steve Bolger are all there. So we're missing Lewis Wedding. That's one of the obvious names that's on that list.
Yeah, he's currently spectator.
Yeah, he's moved down into the spectator mode, so that means he's just adminning the race from this point onwards. Bagacino's just jumped back in, so I believe we're missing Manuel Centino and Mitch Hathaway are definitely notable absentees. And I think Glenn Miles is also missing. Yeah, he's not on the list either.
And then that's your 4 with Lewis Wedding.
Yeah, correct. So
and I believe Manuel Centino said he had to go in previously, so he was only participating in that first race.
All right, no worries. So we have got our field, and it's going to be, at this stage, 15 cars. I'm hoping we'll get 1 or 2 more to come back in, but still, we're going to have a pretty decent result here. They're just waiting to see if any more drivers get in, and then they're going to jump over to the warm-up. They'll set the grid, and then we'll be away. Now, I think they've taken the liberty of just setting the grid based on the race 1 results because of what has happened with us losing some time with the track doing what it was doing at the very beginning.
Yeah, that would make sense. And while the purist in me wants to see every session run to its completion, there is a time component as well. We are at 10 o'clock on a weeknight for me in South Australia, 10:30 for those in the eastern states. So we do have to keep in mind that there is work tomorrow for a lot of people and all that sort of stuff, so can't go too late. But yeah, it is unfortunate that we've missed out in qualifying, but it does mean that we get to jump straight in to the second race of the evening once everything's all set up and ready to go.
Yeah, won't be too far away now. Bagsy, anything to add before we go to the second race tonight? What are your thoughts after the first race? Some pretty decent battles in there. Do you think it's going to continue? Do you think that the grid in its proposed form is going to spice it up a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see what impact Luke Rosella can have, because starting from, I believe it was 6th position he ended up in the last race, is going to give him a much better chance at fighting for this lead, because I think for most of the race, while he set the fastest lap of the race in the last race, and a lot of the time was faster than the two at the front. So if he can get a good start and be there or thereabouts initially, he should be able to fight for that first position.
Yeah, I think he
And
probably...
it'll be good representation for the Bend Motorsport Park as well, seeing as his car is dressed up in the Bend livery, and he had plans to enter just for this round to support that. So good little representation. Of course, we haven't nearly mentioned our sponsor enough tonight, have we?
No, we haven't given Antara Resort Style Living much of a plug tonight because we've been focused on some of the other things, but thanks to Mike Coulston for organising that on our behalf. There is also, we keep forgetting to mention, there is a small prize fund that's up for offer as well for the winner of the Sprint Series, which has, I think it's only a small like $50 or $60 item, but it allows for you to spend that on if you want to get like a Steam key for Automobilista 2 if you haven't bought it yet, or games like that. There's, I think, a button box that's on offer as well, because that's sort of what it'll buy. Or if you want some gloves for your sim racing, you can also go and use it towards a pair of those as well. So that's a really, really nice gesture from the guys at Antara Resort Style Living, and we do thank them for being a first ever sponsor for Automobilista Australia as well.
It's very good.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Bagsy.
I was going to say, it's very good having a sponsor for the series, and giving everyone something to race for. It raises the stakes just that little bit. Might make people a bit more aggressive in their moves and such.
Yeah, I worry about that, and I sort of think to myself, some guys have obviously had their races ruined a little bit already because of some of the silly antics tonight as well, which is unfortunately, as much as testing as we do, it hasn't seemed to have worked that out. Now we're just watching here where the safety car has decided to pick up the field, and Will Devenish needs to pull the Pete Savage trick here.
Yeah, see, Will Devenish has his eyes on a swivel at the moment.
Oh,
yes, he does.
Well done. Well done. All right, Bagsy, this is a slightly smaller field than what we had last time, so you've got the better part of 2 minutes to rattle it off.
Yes, and hopefully for only one time with no repeats. So, first place, last race, pole position this race due to the time constraints. Will Devenish going for back-to-back. Steve Bolger in second place. He started second last race as well. Peter Savage, this is the first time he hasn't been on pole, but I think we can probably say that his pole position streak is still intact because he didn't get a chance to qualify on pole position for this race. So he's 3 for 3 in the qualifying sessions that have happened. Lion Mitch starts in fourth position. He was very racy from fourth last race as well, so see if he might be in the lead at the end of the first corner if everyone in front of him isn't careful. Brendan Ross in fifth place had an excellent battle with Lion Mitch and kept up with that front pack for the most part of that race. Luke Rosella has actually not started. He is in the pit lane still.
Ooh.
So that is very unfortunate. So we're saying about how we're looking forward to him potentially battling for the lead of this race, but that's not going to happen with him in the pit lane. Greg Tara starts in seventh place. I'm just looking, it looks like Rosello's still in Discord, so I'm not sure what's happened there. Greg Tara starts from seventh place alongside his son Noah, and they'll be looking to resume battling again. Greg Tara got the best of him last race, as it looks like Luke Rosella's coming out into the pit lane now. So pit lane start for Rosella. That's no chance of battling for the win for him. Noah Tara in 8th, Hayden Kruger in 9th. He'll definitely be the leading Bend car this time around. Termo in 10th, Steve Burko in 11th, Luke Joyner alongside him in 12th for Wedding Crashes Motorsport. His stablemate Brian Walsh in 13th. Matt Schwass for Gravel Rash Racing is in 14th. And bringing up the rear of the field is Bagacino, but he is going to be promoted one position as we unfortunately have Luke Rosella with a pit lane start.
Yeah, that's not a good start for race 2 for Luke Rosella here, Flood. We were expecting him to be right up there. Now, I don't know whether he's missed the start or whether he's had a technical gremlin, but not good. Not good at all.
Yeah, either way, it's extremely unfortunate. Of course, he'll be only released from the pits as the field hits the Sector 1 mark, so he'll be starting at least 40 seconds behind everyone else. So we'll keep an eye on his progress throughout the field, but as it stands, is Will Devonish and Steve Bolger on the front row of the grid as they head up towards the finish line to start race 2 this evening.
All right, it's been a bit of a trying night. Let's get there and let's finish this race off and let's get some more points on the board. Race 2 of the Ben Twin Sprint for the AMS Oz Sprint Series in GT3 is away. And Luke Rosella, you can see him there sitting, waiting for the field to go past. Here comes Lion Mitch down the inside, having a nice little look and a good dive under brakes on Steve Bolger, and he's going to get the job done. Savage is going to try and round a pair of them up around the outside, and he does. Kept his nose clean. Gets his block on and gets a little bit of a love tap from Lion Mitch for his trouble, which sends him sideways off of turn 3. But Will Devonish is away.
Bolger and Mitch side by side, banging wheels constantly up the straight there. No one wanting to give an inch, and Lion Mitch comes out on top.
Well, big send from behind as well by Greg Tara on Noah, having to try and take back that place that he started ahead of him on, and now trying to get it sent on Brendan Ross as well. So GTR's 5th, 6th and 7th.
Going almost 3 wide as they come over the hill, but at the moment it is Will Devonish who leads the field away, then Peter Savage, Lion Mitch, Steve Bolger, Brendan Ross, Greg Tara, then Noah Tara, Luke Joyner, Termo and Hayden Kruger is your top 10 as they come through turn 12.
Rosella's just gone through the first set of corners now, and it's also scoring him a lap down off the start as well, so that's unfortunate for Luke Rosella.
Oh, almost. Yep. Both Taras managed to get past. Oh no, Noah Tara's around. Noah Tara's gone around on the exit of turn 13.
No, he's gone completely awry there. Waiting for him to be brought back on the circuit. There he is. Now, did he do that all on his own?
Yeah, he just nicked the curb on the inside. That was enough to send him around. Both Taras actually had gotten past Brendan Ross out of turn 12 as well.
There was a huge amount of the traffic cones went flying as well as Brendan Ross kicked that up. Now, oh, here we go. Yeah, he was looking to pass on his own. Ooh, that's. I'm not sure if there's contact here, guys. This is. I can't cut back to the Brendan Ross thing, but oh, that's mighty close.
Yeah, you can get a little close there. Very difficult to pick up the throttle around the exit of turn 13 either way. So if he got a tap or not, unfortunate for Noah, he's at the tail of the field behind Bagaccino and Brian Walsh as they all file into the first corner. And runs wide as well, trying to get past them. So not going to plan for Noah so far this race.
Just went back and had a look, and he lost it all by himself. Ross didn't have any contact with him.
Okay, there we go. Luke Rosella has actually been scored, Bagsy, because he did get to he only gets scored when he gets to the first timing loop, which he did so on his outlap. So even though he was in the first couple of corners, they hadn't made it to the timing split. So visually, he didn't look like he had a lap, but he officially does. So that's good for Luke
30
Rosella.
seconds off the back of the field.
Yeah. All sorts of fun and games going on a bit further down. I'm taking flood. There's Brendan Ross has managed to get away from the all the battles that were going there. But look at this train forming behind Luke Joyner. Termo's in there. Hayden Kruger's in there. So too Steve Burko and Matt Schwass and Burko resuming their battle right now at the back of it.
And Schwass is in the inside. He's not going to be brave into turn 13, slotting behind Burko up there. That's just where Noah Tara had his lose last lap as they go through the left-hander at 14, down the hill into 15, and then back up to 16. It's a very willing battle group here, headed by Luke Joyner, who finished in the points last lap race around. That's Hayden Kruger in the background trying to make a little bit of a move. Not sure if defensively or offensively at this stage, because it could be both in this battle packs that come through the final corner.
Peter Savage has run wide in the final corner, is now under threat from Lion Mitch. He's
going
very defensive.
You can see it up ahead. There was some snakies going on, and Lion Mitch is going to go and try and go the long way around the outside. Demon on the brakes, and he gets it done. This is reminiscent of what he does in Super 2. He's very, very good under braking.
Closed the door on Savage, didn't give him any opportunity to get that move back. In fact, may have even given Savage a bit of a track cut over that turn 1 curb. But as it stands, Lion Mitch into second place in the BMW, Peter Savage into third in the Bentley, and Bolger, last race's second place getter, sitting at the tail of this group. For the moment, we're only 3 laps, well, we just started the third lap of the race, so it's plenty more to go on in this group. But at the moment, it's looking like Lime Mitch again is the most racy of this willing group. Whether or not he can hold on to that as they all hit that curb at the apex of turn 10 will be another story. Oh, and Peter Savage gets absolutely nerfed by Bolger there.
Yeah, he certainly did.
Big hit.
That's a big hit from Pete Savage on Steve Bolger. Oh, and he's set to come back on at a really awkward angle too with the curbing that happens there as well. So let's go and have a look at this from the onboard from the Jaguar, as there's a little bit more shenanigans for Lime Mitch ahead. So let's go to the onboard. Here it is. Through the last part of that triple right-hander. Oh, now I can see what was possibly going to happen there. So Bolger was looking for the inside for the right-hander and just fractionally missed out on timing it.
I think maybe even Savage checked up a little earlier than Bolger was expecting as well. It didn't look like that was where the braking point should have been for the Bentley there. So maybe a bit of the Constantina effect from the BMW through to Bolger. But either way, what that has done, that's dropped Savage down to 5th place. So not as big a lose as it could have been. And Bolger has moved up into 3rd as we start lap 4 of the second race this evening.
Burko having a look. I just cut back to that battle. There was a really nice train between these guys, Bagsy, heading onto the main straight. Burko had a bit of a look at Hayden Kruger, but almost like hit the brick wall again.
I was watching them go through the final corner, and between the 3 cars, there was about 1.5 pieces of paper between the 2 gaps in between them. Kruger could basically have just let go of his steering wheel, and the car in front and the car behind would have helped him through the corner. As Kruger goes for the dive on the inside on Joyner, side by side, bumps him a little bit and says, "Thank you very much, I'll take that."
Very, very nice dive.
A little unexpected there from Kruger. He really took Joyner's line away from him through as they went through the corner. I think Joyner was trying to cut back to make use of that later apex. But yeah, Kruger just kind of took that away and said, "Thank you very much, we'll take that position as well."
Now let's see how he goes setting out after Termo, who again has had one of those nice clean starts to the race, but got, again, caught up in an incident that was not really his doing in the first race, and we're looking to sort of make amends for that, up 3 spots from where he started.
And he's broken away from that little train that was forming behind him as well. I think Joyner's been a little bit of the cork in the bottle there, as it's really squeezed together Burko and Schwass as well. But back at the front, there's a spin. There's Brendan Ross spun on the exit of turn 17.
Yep, so there we go. So that was Brendan Ross. And where's he now? There he is, just trying to get back onto this battle pack. He's going to fall in behind Matt Schwass here. So Rossi's done that all on his own, I think. And he's having some horrible lag issues there as well, by the looks of things. Let's see what happened here. So he was in behind Pete Savage, heading into turn 17, and took too much curb and unsettled the car and looped it around.
And while we were watching that replay, Burko has made it through on Joyner as well for that's 8th place. We've got an update from Rhodey in our live chat saying that someone is fixing the laps as they happen, because Luke Rosella apparently had a Sector 2 drop, and that's been rectified.
There we go. That confirms my suspicion that the thing I'm staring at on the desk next to me is actually correct. And sort of makes me feel a bit guilty for not trying to pull that trigger a little bit earlier and sort it out in race number 1. Luke Joyner now is now 10th, and Noah Tara's trying to recover through the field, and he's gone through to 11th now, with Rossi still having some lag issues. Now those lag issues will be because he's out. I think he's in outback Queensland, or close enough to outback Queensland somewhere. So internet not the greatest out there, and looks like he's pulled over, and I think he's had enough.
It's very unfortunate.
Yeah, real shame. Real shame that this night hasn't gone to plan for a lot of people. In fact, I think Lime Mitch may have made a mistake. Lime Mitch and Steve Bolger may have made a mistake, because they're both behind Greg Tara and Peter Savage.
Yeah, Greg Tara.
Yeah, what happened there? A very slow first sector for the pair of them, so they might have come together. I'll have a bit of a scroll back and have a look and see if I can find some answers.
Yes, they're still joined at the hip, but yeah, minute 55 laps for the pair of them on that particular occasion. So that's really really, really slow for those guys. And you're saying it was in the first sector. You're right. Maybe they probably had each other off or something. Well, they're still going door handle to door handle here at the minute.
Yeah, Bolger's gone. Bolger's lost it on the curb, on the curb going into turn 1. Lion Mitch has tried to do his pattern to just drive around the outside, but Bolger's already lost it in the curb, and it's hit Lion Mitch and spun him around as well. So Greg Tara's just gone round the outside of them, and just trying to see. Looks like Peter Savage may have had an issue at the same time potentially.
Yeah,
no, he's just come out ahead of them.
And Savage is trying to have a bit of a look down the inside of Lion Mitch at the run to 6 as well, who's again holding up the train with Will Devonish comfortably out in front at the minute to the tune of 7 seconds over Greg Tara. There goes the Nissan just off the side of screen. And then it's this battle over the remaining podium position as it stands.
Greg Tara's just going to be hoping these guys keep battling for the next 20 minutes and don't catch up to him.
That's right.
So he can get into an easy podium.
That almost worked for him at Okayama, if you remember. The rest of the field, the front three, Devonish, Bolger, and Peter Savage, and Lewis Wedding, for that matter, all made mistakes or got involved in incidents, which meant that they dropped behind the Taras, and in the end, it served Noah with his first podium and almost delivered one for Greg as well. So he's been doing a good job of keeping his nose clean in that Nissan, and it might finally pay dividends with the podium.
No, you're absolutely right there. We haven't seen Greg Tara on an AMSO's podium for some time. So it'd be great to see him back up there.
I'm just having a bit of a chuckle. Will Devonish, best lap 2 laps ago, 47.810. Last lap around, a 47.816. So he's certainly metronomic at the minute out the front.
Lion Mitch is just a little bit wide there at turn 1, but now Bolger's going to try and stick his nose down the inside of Pete Savage as they run through turn 3. A little bit further behind them, Turmo has been caught by Hayden Kruger here, so that didn't take very long at all, and now he's got to get his defensive game on and make that Viper as wide as he can.
Peter Savage, big dive down the inside. He's got the rears locked up and make a little bit of contact, him and Lion Mitch. But it was very lucky that Peter was able to hold that one up there.
He pulled a slide job on him, not even on an oval.
Is it a postage stamp? Because I think he just licked, stamped, and sent that. Let's go and have a look at this again. So
that was a full-on slide
on the onboard from Bolger's perspective. That's what I was watching, and boy howdy, that was scary.
Right, here we go. Here's the onboard view from Steve Bolger. Big send off the racing line, full sideways, and got the block on as well. Perfectly executed, one would have to argue there.
Perfect, sure. I think that's what does Scott McLaughlin say? More arse than class after he did that to Mark Winterbottom at Surface Paradise?
Something like that. I was going to say he gave it some jandle, but he didn't sort of get on the loud pedal on that particular occasion.
Oh, I was very lucky there, but he does take the position from Lion Mitch, so that's Peter Savage up to third, hoping to keep his perfect podium streak alive. I
was just about to mention how there are some corners where you can take different lines, where you can take a wide line if you want and sort of narrow it on exit. And you've got to be careful when running this close, because if you have that opening, people are just going to put their car there and say, now you have to deal with the consequences of this if you decide to turn in to the spot you normally go. As Lion Mitch is deciding to give Savage some consequences for passing him by passing him right back.
He's off the track. He's going to have to surrender that. There's a big moment. Big moment. Now, I was about to say, Lion Mitch went off the track to make that pass, so he really had to surrender the place back, and that's not what you do, what you call, I think, fair game there. I wouldn't be surprised to see that debated after the race, because that was a full-on send. And if we have a look at it from Lion Mitch's perspective on the onboard, look at the brake light. Yeah, big send under brakes, and watch where he goes off the track here, so he goes beyond the white line, there it is there, and tries to come back on and too aggressively, and then there's a side-to-side contact.
Yeah, not ideal there. I think that's you'd call that an unsafe rejoin for Lion Mitch, or at least an unwieldy rejoin for the BMW there. And it's again, sorry, that was Matt Swass that I saw just have a little bit of a moment on the grass. Again, it's Peter Savage who draws the short straw. He's been tagged by both of those two drivers in that group now, and is again back in 5th place.
There's a nice.
I feel like the rejoin was okay. It was just I don't think Savage expected him to be there, because from Savage's on board, it looked like Lion Mitch was heading to much more the scenery than staying on the racetrack.
Yeah,
There's a lot of scenery out there at turn one,
there's
isn't
a
there?
lot of grass out there too. There are still a few.
Say,
Go on. Sorry, go back.
Sorry, Turmo's still got Hayden Kruger behind him. He's actually doing quite a defensive job here, Turmo.
Yeah, he's doing quite a nice job, and there's another battle group behind this pair as well, and this is Noah Tara, who's just managed to round up Steve Burko on the recovery drive, so he's managed to get back to where he started in 8th place, so now Burko's got to get his defensive game on against Luke Joyner, and not far behind them is Matt Schwass.
Out the front, it's Bolger on line match again. They make contact again.
Wow.
Bolger with a deep run into turn one and locked the rears, but this time he took himself out instead of affecting Liam Mitchell's race.
And Kruger's just got the pass done on Turmo in behind the scenes as well. So we're going to have a look at a couple of replays here. So we'll stay with Bolger for the minute because we just caught to this as it was happening. There's Kruger lining up the pass on Turmo in back of shot. So Bolger sent it. And yeah, got hung up on the curb and that bounced him out. And then now this will be the debatable one here. Was there a yellow flag at turn one when this pass got made? Well, judging by that, the yellow flag was cleared. So Hayden Kruger should be in the clear here.
Yeah, I think if I was marshalling that sort of incident, you put the yellow flag in when the cars generally stop in that instance. And it was very lucky that Bolger didn't climb more over the front of that BMW. Could have gone over the top of that BMW there. So he's now dropped to 5th. Kruger's made that position on Turmo for 6th. And Peter Savage, after we were saying he got punted off by both of the cars he was battling with, now gets that position back.
Yep, so he's back to where he started here. Although he probably would have wanted that position back probably about a lap ago. But he's inherited it through Steve Bolger, unfortunately getting hung up on that curb and taking himself out.
Oh, Turmo's had an incident as well now. Just on the exit of turn 15.
Yeah, lost a
him
little
and him and Hayden Kruger were side by side through that section.
Yeah, actually Kruger's giving him Kruger's giving him the spot back here, so I'd imagine that there's been a pass attempted. Yeah, here we go. Pass attempted into, what's that, turn 13, 14. Yep, so fair enough, he was alongside there, and he got nerfed and turned. So, yep, and that's fair, and that's a good redress by Hayden Kruger as well, realising that he tried to take advantage of the situation, he got it all wrong, and there he is giving the spot back.
He's he's attempting to take the position back into turn one now. They're side by side.
Got it done.
And looks like he's made the pass stick there. And it also looks like he has dropped a lap through Sector 2, so I'm sure Lewis will be onto that fairly quickly.
We'll be seeing that very quickly as well. I'm sure Lewis has got the live stream up on another device. He's keeping an eye on what's going on the live timing, and he'll be onto that very, very quickly. So that will put Hayden Kruger into 6th, Turmo back into 7th.
Someone who's having a bit of a lonely race, well, Wedding at the front is obviously having a lonely race. He's 9 seconds ahead of Greg Turra in 2nd.
Will.
Who's actually eking out a slight lead on Peter Savage and Liam Mitch, who are both battling. So Greg Turra would be very happy to hear, if he's listening to the commentary, the battle between Savage and Liam Mitch being ongoing. Because, yeah, he's got 6.5 seconds, or it was 6.5 seconds, now it's close to 7 seconds, and 12 minutes to go that he has to defend.
Well, we did say that the more that these group battle behind, the better it will be for Greg Turra, and it's working out quite nicely for him at the moment. And with Liam Mitch, again, very much on the tail of Savage's Bentley, it's not really letting Savage off the hook, which means that he's doing more defending than he is attacking, even with that big slide down the main onto the main straight for Liam Mitch. Now, can the big BMW get in the big Bentley's big air hole? Wait. Down the main straight, not quite this time around. Oh, but Savage misses the apex. He had a bit of a rear end lose in the mid corner there, and that's brought the BMW straight back onto the tail of the Bentley, going through.
Ultra's also still closing in on these guys as well.
Oh, I think these guys are suffering for rear tires at the minute. Both of them with big wiggles on power on coming out of the corner.
And both of them have had a few spins as well, or a few slide job moments too. So they've probably lit the tyres up as well, trying to get going again. So there probably is a little bit of rear grip issue going on here for these two cars.
And if they're having that issue now, they're going to be suffering at the end of the race. Still 10 minutes left and at least 6 laps to go. So it still could be a a minefield towards the end of the race for these guys. And it might bring in the likes of Hayden Kruger or Turmo, should they hold on to their tyres, and might be able to snatch a few lucky positions at the end.
So this is probably the closest battle on track. The next closest battle is Steve Burko and Luke Joyner. Matt Schwass has been closed down by Luke Rosella as well. So Rosella's on the verge of getting into the top 10 here, Bagsy.
Something's happened to Noah Tara. He's dropped because he was ahead of.
Yeah, he's dropped all the way down to 12
Burko
now.
and such. He's had another spin from looks of it, and yeah, Rosella's doing quite a good job to pull back to where he is. He's currently 45 seconds off the leader, which is very impressive considering he was a very, very long way back.
Yeah, Noah Tara, I've got the details on Noah Tara here. His lap 11th, what lap is that one? His 9th lap, he had a 45-second middle sector. So he did a 201.428. So he's obviously had an off-track excursion somewhere, putting him down the order, which was sad because he'd gotten all the way back up to 8th place. He'd done really well to fight his way back through the battle group, and now finds himself there. And Rosella's gone in. So Rosella just went into the pits. Does he not have enough fuel?
That would be a weird one, especially with 10 minutes left. That's a big mistake.
Oh,
I've got my eyes. Go ahead, Bagsy.
I think the reason it might have been he might not have loaded his setup from last race when they switched over the server, or he just wasn't there because we saw he started from the pit lane. So he may just be on default setup, which doesn't have enough fuel potentially.
Yep, there you go. That'll be what it is. I think you're probably spot on there, Bagsy. So that's
He's changing tyres.
The gap between Peter Savage and Lion Mitch is very, very close as they go through the back end of the circuit. Both of them taking very different lines down the sweeping right-hander. And there was almost a contact moment there in the middle where Lion Mitch was just bringing the throttle up as Peter was hitting the brakes. They're going through to the second sector mark now, and the gap is 0.2 of a second off the top of turn 14 into turn 15 and back up the hill. So this battle is certainly very willing at the moment, and it's the closest battle on track, maybe except for Noah Taro and Matt Swash.
And it's letting Bolger buy back in as well.
Bolger is very quickly closing on these guys, about 0.2 of a second a lap, just judging by my last couple of numbers. Look at Bolger's last lap time, 48.3. These guys ahead actually took a lot more time, as more like 4 tenths to 48.8 for Savage and a 48.7 for Lion Mitch. So these two are really got to get a wriggle
Lion Mitch has got to run this time though. Peter goes to the defensive on the inside, and they both hit the braking marker at the same time. Can Lion Mitch wrap around the outside?
Oh, he went really deep.
He keeps it on the track this time. He keeps it on the track this time and holds that position. So now Lion Mitch holds the podium position. Can he keep it there? Oh, Savage with a big, big moment on the throttle application. That's going to give Lion Mitch the breathing room he needs to consolidate that third place.
You're absolutely right there.
That was Lion Mitch is the king of going around the outside in turn 1.
I don't know how he does it. That shouldn't really be that much of a passing opportunity around the outside, certainly on the inside. But yeah, he seems to be very, very good on the anchors. And that's something that we noticed last weekend as well at Okayama. He seemed to always have the extra 5 or 6 meters under brakes that could pass cars at the end of the long straight.
Unfortunately, we've had Rosella retire now.
There we go. So that's not good for Luke Rosella. What was starting to be a promising, or looking like it was going to be a promising round for him, has become a bit of a cropper. That means Noah Tara's also recovered to inside the top 10 now, having just disposed of Matt Schwass. And also behind these guys, I know Steve Bolger's catching them as they continue to battle. Turmo has not let go of Hayden Kruger. In fact, he had a real red-hot go into turn 1 on this lap as well. So I'm surprised. Turmo's got quite a nice turn of speed going here, matching the Audi and staying with him as quickly or as closely as he can.
We've talked often how some drivers just need that carrot to dangle in front of them, and they suddenly drive so much faster. Yeah, sometimes just having that person in front of you to follow, getting a feel for their braking markers and stuff can gain you half a second a lap, just because you're feeling a bit more confident because you see, okay, he's braking there, so I can brake there as well. It just makes sense for the most part.
No, that's right.
And it seems that that's what Turmo was doing, because Kruger was following him, catching up to him fairly quickly, and he is not being able to shake Turmo at all as they go down the straight. Turmo's giving it his best go in that straight.
Yeah, here we go. Viper getting very, very close, but just closing. It was closing, but he just wasn't able to close at the right part of the circuit quickly enough. Just didn't get that last run off the final corner, and then the slipstream really didn't take effect until a lot later on the main straight. Coming back to your carrot argument, Bagsy, the guys over at our counterparts over at ARW, which are on tomorrow night as well, 9th round of the BTCC Championship. That's ARW, that's Apex Rear Wing, for those of the uneducated. They often refer to Sam Smith as needing that carrot to be dangled in front of him to encourage him to go after it. That's where the carrot argument comes from for people that are sort of a bit amused as to what we're talking about.
Just quickly to completely change track, we've had Luke Rosella pop up in the YouTube live chat saying that he forgot to load his setup for race 2, so that was the issue that he had, and also claimed to have an absolute shocking night. So real unfortunate for Luke Rosella. Now the battle for the podium is not going away, and Lion Mitch and Peter Savage's battling has
right
really
on him.
incentivized, Bulger to come back on them. So I think of this group of 3, Peter Savage looks the most vulnerable on corner X. He ran wide at turn 1 last lap around, and he's looking vulnerable again. This time, Bulger is in the wheel tracks and has a full head of steam as they come up the hill onto the braking zone.
Here he goes.
Turn 1.
Here he goes.
Inside.
No.
Doesn't quite go deep under brakes, but Peter's gone very deep under brakes. Lion Mitch has gone even deeper under brakes, and they all run a little wide there. The two boats managed to sail on through.
I think Lion Mitch might have been a bit worried about what was going to happen behind him, because he had a very squirrely moment on under power as well.
Termo's having a look.
The most with the rears.
Termo's having a look at Hayden Kruger here, and he's going to be alongside at turn 1. He's just got to stay with him and hang it round the outside, and he'll be in prime position for turn 3, and he does. But Kruger's got some overlap, and just a little bit of elbows out muscling here. Now has.
Speaking of elbows out muscling, the Bentley and the BMW make contact as they come down into turn 8. Lucky that they didn't spill into a bigger thing there. Yep. We're trying to watch 2 battles at once here. Yep. This time, Hayden Kruger down the inside of Turmo into turn 6. Meanwhile, at the front, at 3rd place, it's Lion Mitch, still from Peter Savage and Steve Bolger. It's all going off at the moment as we've got 3 minutes left in this race.
Yeah, we're going to have 3 more laps, just judging by the times that we're looking at the minute. So Devonish out in front, and he is quite comfortably about to cross the line in about 10 seconds or so, and he'll commence his 16th lap with about 2 minutes 45 still on the clock, and there he goes. So we are going to get another 3 laps on this one. That's 3 more laps for these guys to sort out the 3rd spot on the rostrum.
Might need to go into afters for that, the way these guys are racing.
I think they're going to need some boxing gloves after this.
Okay, let's have a look again this time around. Bolger in the wheel tracks of the Bentley, and they're both in the wheel tracks of the BMW heading into turn 1. BMW goes defensive, and Peter Savage tries to go around the outside. Bolger in his wheel tracks. BMW goes very, very deep. Lion Mitch, he's going to come back onto the circuit. Peter jumps well out the way this time, doesn't want to get involved like we saw earlier on. And Savage has the inside line. This might be a little bit of a touch as both of them get a little oversteer on the exit of turn 3. But this time, the Bentley leads the BMW.
Yeah, he's having another go behind as well at turn 1. So they've exchanged places 3 times on this last lap just gone, and he's got the job done there. Bolger's made a move. He's made a move on Lion Mitch just in the last couple of seconds as well down at turn 6. So that's a change for 4th position. Now he can set his sights on the back end of Pete Savage's Bentley Continental.
Poor Lion Mitch, he's lost 2 positions in 6 corners. It's very unfortunate for him. He was looking for a podium, and now it's going to be very difficult to get back for him.
Yeah, off screen as well.
Bagsy, you literally read my mind. That was literally word for word what I was about to say.
Off screen as well, Hayden Kruger's repassed Turmo at turn 6 just like he did on the previous lap. So these guys just keep repeating the same things lap after lap. So Turmo's going to have another go, and he's going to have to be aware that he needs to get a block pass on at some point and just kill the momentum of Kruger so he can't come back at him.
Also, just fun, Will Devonish has had his sector time not count in sector 2, so even though it looks like he's dropping down the timing screens, he is still in first.
Yeah, so that'll be sorted up to by Lewis Wedding. Noah Tara has moved up the order as well, so he's picked off Luke Joyner. He's not far out of behind Steve Burko as well. I wouldn't be surprised, and he's actually while we're keeping an eye on this battle, he's right in the wheel tracks of Burko's Bentley heading up through turn 14 and 15 at the minute as well. So he might have another place to gain in the next 2 laps.
And that was from a mistake from Luke Joyner as well. So that's how Noah's been able to get back into 9th. This is a very willing battle. Noah seems to have a lot more speed than the Bentley ahead of him as they come onto the main straight.
So Termo's lost touch with Hayden Kruger on this lap, but here's the battle we were talking about. Here's Noah Tara and getting ready to line up Burko's Bentley into turn 1. I think the pass is going to happen here, gentlemen, and it looks like it is, and here we go.
Up the inside go the Nissan, hits the brakes, takes the corner away from the Bentley and gets it done cleanly. Now, can Burko keep an overlap? No, he can't.
Well
so
done.
Noah Tara back into 8th place.
Well
it's taken him. He's taken him the long way, but he's returned to the position that he started the race in.
He's been up and down and there and back again. And he's finally back to where he started in 8th place. So it's a bridge too far to reach the back of Termo at the moment, unless there's a mistake ahead. But Termo hasn't been able to get ahead of Kruger this time.
Back of the front, Bolger was having a bit of a look down the back straight there, because we've been a very ambitious attempt. Is he going to have a go into this complex at the start of Sector 3? He's not. But he is right on there. Will Devonish is across the line to start the final lap. So these guys have one more lap, and Lime Mitch looks like he's decided to give up on fighting for the place. He wants to see if these two take each other out. Bolger gets into the back of Peter, and that's going to give a place to Lime Mitch. Potentially, they're going to be side by side. This is actually has worked out quite well for Peter now, because this battle is going to keep them off of him into the major point where someone could have got past him.
There is lap traffic in play here. There is lap traffic in play here. I believe it's Brian Walsh. Yes, it is. So these guys need to be ultra careful here. Savage is going to be the pioneer when it comes to lapping Brian Walsh's Lamborghini. Lime Mitch having to take a defensive approach to Bolger, who tries the Lime Mitch trick round the outside. He's going to get the job done.
Well done, Bolger there. He really used that wide line to his advantage and takes away that 4th position for the moment. But that's left Peter Savage out with a 2.5 gap to this group. There was just a second to go altogether. So Savage might continue his podium streak alive, and he's got the headlights on as well to warn Brian Walsh in the distance that there is more cars coming as they are on the final lap of this race, the second race of the Benz Twin Sprint.
Well, that bump that Savage got from Bolger that almost turned him round has ended up being an absolute gift for him. As Bolger's had an issue with the traffic. He's been balked there, I think, a little bit, and that's allowed Lime Mitch through.
A little bit. He got absolutely ruined by Brian Walsh there. It was just a perfect storm of the wrong car in the wrong place at the wrong time, and that's pushed Bolger down into 5th. Now he's got 2 or 3 more opportunities to make that move to get back onto 4th.
We pick up our race leader, who's just coming around the final corner now. So it's a perfect pair for Will Devonish. 2 wins on the night, and that will give him the points lead in the GT3 Sprint Series for 2020. Good job from the Wedding Crashers Motorsport Lamborghini driver. Hats off to this man, Greg Tara. Great to see him back on an AMS Oz podium. A well-earned 2nd place finish for PRM and Nissan. And then Pete Savage is going to hang on here for 3rd place over Lime Mitch, and Steve Bolger couldn't quite get close enough to get the job done in the end.
A battered, bruised, and beaten, but not broken Peter Savage. He's got more dents on that car than I did on my old first car. So manages to take a podium, keeps his podium streak alive. Well done. Hayden Kruger, the first of the wildcards for tonight, is coming across the line to finish in a very respectable 6th place for the Bend AAR Racing. Well done to Hayden. And then Termo, the first of the Vipers, in 7th. And there's a bit of a battle coming down the main straight.
So
drag race. Steve Burko's going to get it on the line.
Did Tara run out of fuel? I reckon Noah Tara might be out of fuel here, guys. Maybe.
Oh, no.
That's a heartbreak for Noah Tara. He'd done all the hard work to get all the way back up to 8th place. I reckon he's out of fuel.
He certainly looks it as Luke Joyner crosses the line in the background. He had no pace coming out of that final corner. And yeah, it was a sitting duck, because that's all uphill there. That last run from turn 18 up to the line is uphill, and yeah, couldn't get it done at the end there, Noah.
Yeah, couldn't get it done. Matt Schwasser's the next man to get across the line for 11th place out of the 15 cars that started. 13 will finish. I think Bagacino's just in back a shot. Yep, there's the Ferrari. Matt Schwass home on the lead lap. Bagacino home on the lead lap. And Brian Walsh, he's a lap down. So the last man on the lead lap is Bagacino. And exhale, gentlemen.
It's a bit like that, isn't it? After all the struggles tonight, but we did end up getting some great racing towards the end, including that battle for third place. And what a way to finish off the night.
Yeah, definitely what a way to finish off the night. There's a nice podium finish in there. That was a little bit unexpected. And, oh, God, I don't know what to say. Pete Savage, Lime Mitch and Steve Bolger just hand over fist in that race. And it's sort of almost like a replica of race one between a couple of those guys just getting their elbows out, just, nice side-by-side action and a little bit of Rubbins racing. I mean, no one begrudges that, but certainly this is what this series is all about. And Bagsy, I think we might throw to you to grab our podium sitters and let's see what questions you got in store for them.
Yeah, well, there's not much to really ask, Will, apart from what were you doing to keep yourself entertained out the front there this race?
I guess when I'm in positions like that, I tend to set myself little goals. So I wanted to finish 15 seconds ahead of Greg. Didn't make that, but I haven't got much to say about that race. Like, started in the lead, and there's a bit of squabbling behind me. So unfortunately, I think that took a bit of the competition away. Just try to keep it straight and drove it home.
Yeah, overall though, you're now 3 wins out of 4 races. How do you feel that has you set up for the rest of the championship? Are you feeling more confident than you were at the start of the Sprint Series, or are you still sort of a bit cautious about potential championship winning implications?
A bit cautious, especially seeing some of the aggressive driving tonight. Don't want to call anything too early, so good. It's just one race away from going tits up, so just take every race that comes at the moment.
Yeah, definitely very well raced out the front there, from racing from the front and not having anyone in your league tonight. So well done.
Thank you.
Greg, that was also a bit of a quiet race for you, to be honest, towards the end there, but you had a bit happening in front of you. The battle between Savage, Lime, Mitch and Bolger sort of boiled over to the point where you were able to take advantage.
Yeah, I really wasn't expecting it for their battle to pan out like that. I thought maybe they would slow each other down and I could get under the tail of that, which I was concentrating on. And then, it was like all going down in front of me. So I managed to sneak through. Not sure what happened to Peter. I just saw him off in the weeds and found myself in P2. And I was actually gearing up for those guys to come back at me because I reckon they probably had a bit more pace. But obviously their squabbling allowed me to just sort of hit my marks and try and just, make every apex and get it home.
Yeah, I heard Will mention about how he's just seeing himself little goals. Did you have the need to do something similar in the latter half of that race when there was just absolutely no one else around you in contact with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Otherwise, I'll have a patented daydream and miss a braking marker somewhere. So I really kind of just take it corner by corner every lap and just try and do the same thing over and over. Otherwise, you just get caught out.
Oh, very well raced for a podium, and it's nice to see you back in the podium places again.
Thank you. It's been a little while.
I reckon I will hand off to Floody for Pete Savage here, because I'm sure you have plenty of questions for what was the biggest battle of the race, really.
Yeah, exactly. Pete, continuing your podium streak, first of all, but secondly, how many panels on your car were straight at the end of that one? Because you got beaten from pillar to post that race and yet still managed to come out with the podium.
Yeah, I don't believe there would have been any panels left without any damage, but all I can really say for it is I was trying to give both of them racing room, and for most of the night, both of them were just doing nothing but give the same back, and it was It was very disappointing by guys that you'd expect at the front, and I really hope that gets turned around for the next one.
Fair enough. It was very willing stuff, the whole group of you. In the end, you were the prevailer of that battle. Sort of talk us through your night. 2 third places is a pretty good return, especially considering you hadn't really raced the track much tonight, before tonight rather.
Yeah, I'll definitely take the 2/3. I definitely did not expect that. Yeah, the only thing that I really have to say after tonight is just that, people just need to be just a little bit more cautious when they're attacking. Like, being aggressive is good, but in races you need race smart. And constantly throwing it down the inside, you are never going to have a good result. And yeah, don't really have anything else to say.
Yeah, I can hear the frustration on your voice. Do you think had you not been involved in a few of those incidents, you might have had enough to challenge Greg and maybe even get onto the tail of Will?
Not really. I made a slight little change going into that second race, and my car became very taily. And at the end of the race, my tires were shot, so I was finding it really hard to keep it on the track.
But you managed to take home a 3rd place, which I think keeps you in 2nd place in the championship. So congratulations on that, and continuing your podium streak, Peter Savage.
Thank you.
So a very frustrated Peter Savage there at the end, but you got to say, from the spectator point of view, from us in the commentary point, a lot of fun to watch, and maybe a few slaps on the wrist needed before next round out at Suzuka.
Yeah, I'd probably tend to agree with that. I think there's a little bit of still a little bit of water to flow under the bridge with regards to sorting out a few of those items between now and the next round in 2 weeks' time. And as I look at the moment, I can see that the instant reporting channel's been opened up. So I believe it's been opened up, expecting for a flood of possible reports to come in the next little bit. But we'll see how all that works out. The next round, of course, being, as you said, Suzuka in 2 weeks from now. So the GT3 Sprint calendar, there it is. So through the first 2 rounds, 2 rounds to go in August, and then 2 more rounds in September. Now, the one thing you need to remember about Suzuka that you can see with the little asterisk next door to the T on circuit, it is a slightly different round compared to all the others. It means that there is a dusk race. So it's going from dusk until night. So, and that's the same, you can see down there for the Bahrain International Circuit. That is going to run under some lights. And I believe there's also been a late change for Road Atlanta as well. They're going to start the race, I think, about the 4 o'clock mark. So it gets that sort of evening sort of sunset. Not as dark as what we're expecting it to get for Suzuka and for Bahrain, but it definitely will be a little bit of an interesting look and feel come the last round of the season, gents.
It'll be nice to see some racing under lights. It brings up different challenges too, because you've got the daylight transition means sometimes the shadows on the track where people might be using as braking markers could be a little bit changed, and just your ability to see the apexes can change a little bit as well, and can lead to some interesting results.
Yeah, of course, there's the Sydney Super Night for the Supercars Championship coming up a little bit later on in a couple of weeks' time, I believe. We've got Hamilton, and then we've got Sydney Super Night after that, and there was some testing happening recently just to make sure we knew what the times we needed to have so you could actually see some things, but it wasn't too dark to see it. So we'll like to see how that pans out. Bit of night racing is always good. We actually haven't done some night racing since the GT3 round last year at the Yas Marina circuit, Bagsy, which you and I called on. That was the 2-hour affair won by Brenton Foley.
Yeah, it was a while ago, wasn't it? So it'd be nice to have some racing under lights.
And a call out to Brenton Foley too. We know you've got the wildcard entry car sitting in this field. We do want to see you get out there and wring the neck of that Viper and see what you can do. I don't know what track you're going to do it at, but we want to see it out there, mate, so get going. Closing thoughts, Michael, before we finish tonight?
a bit of a trying night, we'll say that, with all the server problems and the track problems and the car problems and the running problems. But on the whole, still some very good racing. Just a classic Will Devonish flawless performance at the front, and some very willing battles throughout the field. Yeah, hopefully we get to see the same in 2 weeks' time for Suzuka, and with the start of the Porsche Cup next week as well, you'll be able to catch us on Tuesday nights for some more GT style racing, hopefully.
Yep, hopefully so. And the Porsche Cup, again, another series that is new, actually not so much new, but has been revived. There, as we said a bit earlier, is the next 4 events on the calendar. Porsche Cup last running in 2018 and finishing up in January 2019. So another series that has been revived along with the Bathurst 500 special event coming back, and hugely popular. So we had a lot of people registered for that Porsche Cup, so we're hoping for a big turnout. Long Beach are going to turn it on. Long Beach is going to turn it on. Bagsy will be familiar with this one. It's the same iteration that we ran the ARW Boxer Cup in back in season 6. So we know what it's like to drive around that circuit, and it's exactly the same layout. So we know where the lap times are going to be. We know what the benchmark is going to be like, and everybody's going to be aspiring already to get to that marker. We'll leave it there for the night. Thank you very much indeed for watching, and that's not the closing image that I wanted to be seeing, but we'll leave it as that. Please, as always, drive safely. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.